Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning. Now, welcome to the Pivot Workshop series that is organized in conjunction with the Rapid Response and Recovery Program in Malaysia. Now, the Rapid Response and Recovery Program is an initiative of Youth Business International being rolled out across 32 countries around the world with the support of Google.org, the philanthropic arm of Google, and is implemented in Malaysia by Startup Malaysia. Now, if you're new here, the Pivot Workshop series is a series of 3 to 4 hour workshop where we discuss relevant topics to help small business owners in navigating their daily business challenges due to the pandemic. And aside from the series of free workshops and webinars, we also have a 6-week intense coaching and mentoring that you can also benefit from. And the next cohort begins on the 6th of September. So to give you a better picture of the program, we have prepared a short clip for you. So I will be sharing my screen. Okay, now before I forget, if you haven't followed us on social media yet, please do so to access more free resources, tricks and tips, and latest updates on our upcoming programs. And a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep your microphone muted at all times to avoid any sorts of interruptions. And should you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box, and our trainer will address them accordingly. And then we will also be taking photos and screenshots from time to time, and they will be shared on all of our social media platforms, which means if you are not comfortable for your picture to be featured on social media, please keep your cameras off. Now, speaking of which, before we begin, let's take a quick group photo. We really appreciate it. You can turn on your camera. To answer Karen's question, the whole session is recorded and we will share with you after the session is ended, and it will be valid for about 1 month from the date that we share the program. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead. Ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you. Okay, now let's start our workshop today. So today is the 5th workshop of the Pivot Workshop series, and we will be learning about Content Creation 101. Now, our trainer for today is Nadzirah Hashim. She's joining us all the way from Bali, Indonesia, and she is the founder and CEO of Wave Makers. She has worked with various international brands like Nike, ClassPass, and even Bunkasit. So without further ado, Nadzirah, over to you. And also to everyone, we will be sharing a link to a workbook that you'll be using throughout the program. So I will share the link in the chat box, and then please download to your computer, okay? Over to you, Nadzirah.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everybody. A bit early to start a workshop, but hopefully today's workshop will be a bit fun and that we will leave today feeling a little bit more inspired and empowered on creating good content for social media. I think Rina will be sharing the link to the workbook, and that is quite fundamental for us to use because if you don't have it, we won't be able to proceed in the activities. And I would really love to see your participation since it's not such a big class at the moment. So I think I can manage to at least chat to a few of you before we, as we proceed throughout the activities. So don't be shy to ask any questions in the chat box, or if you want to even talk to me on camera. I'm very, very friendly. I'm not gonna, be like rawr towards you. So without further ado, let me share my screen and we shall begin. Oops, I didn't share my screen. I just presented. Hang on 1 second. Here we go. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Yes? Everybody can see my screen. Thumbs up if you can. I don't know if you know how to do thumbs up in there, but yeah, we are
Yes.
about to begin. Great. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about digital marketing using social media, how to create good content for your channels. I suppose many of you are either small business owners or maybe exploring, but we'll have a little agenda for today, which is we'll start with a little bit of an icebreaker. And then we'll talk about understanding your digital channels goals, including your vision, mission, and values, and defining your target audience. And we'll go for a quick break before we jump into understanding the social media channels and what types of content we can create. And then we define your tone of voice and your channel and explore the various tools that can help you create good content. And we're done. Now, typically, this workshop is actually about 3.5 hours, but I had to cut it short. Now, I just wanted to highlight that in case it goes a little bit of time, I apologize, but it's I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of good information here that you can definitely utilize. So yeah, don't I hope you can stay on till the end of the session. So, but first, let's slide into slido.com. So there's a barcode you can see here, which you can actually scan, and you can use your phone, and you will be participating in our icebreaker. And if you're on your desktop, you can go to slido.com, and the password is rapid, and you will be part of the participation. So I would assume that people are joining because I can see on the top right counter how many of you are actually joining. And at the moment I see zeros. So please join the counter. And the first question I'd like to ask to you is, how are you feeling today? Excited. Yay, we got someone who says they're excited. Good, good. I'm happy to hear that you guys are feeling good. Anyone else? Amazing. Yay. I mean, it's a Saturday morning. We want to start our morning productively. And I'm really impressed that you guys are starting your morning with learning something at 9 a.m. Great. So many people feeling good. I'm happy to hear this. All right. Anyone else want to respond? Yes? Come on. I know there's more of us in this room that we can share how we feel. Okay. People are feeling great. Awesome. I'm loving it. Okay. Well, if you guys are feeling great, I'm really happy because we can start in a good start. All right. Moving forward, if you guys want to answer the next question, please rank which of these social media channels you often use. So this is just to explore, to get to know what channels you guys are often utilizing, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can rank more than one. I mean, it's ranking. It's just to explore and get to know each other better, to know how you guys utilize social media, what do you browse on in content, because obviously it really is an interesting note to find out. So far people are saying Facebook and Instagram, which is quite expected because surprise guys, in Malaysia mainly people are on Facebook and Instagram, and actually YouTube being another channel that they really like as well. Interesting. Okay, so some people are also using TikTok. I'm happy to see that because some other audiences don't use TikTok at all. And I usually imagine that they're much older. But, if you're one of the like selected ones who are older and using TikTok, kudos to you because I'm still like not using TikTok. I mean, I use it to like browse content, but I don't know how to create. Well, not that I don't know. I do know how to create, but I don't create videos there. So great. Okay. So majority of us are still often using Facebook and Instagram second and YouTube third, LinkedIn fourth, TikTok last, and someone's using Twitter. Great. I use Twitter. I use it to get information and sometimes let myself feel whatever I feel. So great. Thank you so much for that. All right. Next one. Rank your biggest challenges when it comes to creating content in social media. So tell me guys, like when it comes to creating content on social media, what is it? What's the problem? Like, what do you guys feel is a challenge? No time to post? Don't know how to write well? Okay, maybe. Running out of topic ideas? No graphic designer? Disheartened by low engagement? Interesting. That's 5 of you have answered. I know we can get a few more. Don't be shy. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's how you feel. Okay, so mainly it's like don't know how to write well, is it? Okay, okay. So mainly is that don't know how to write well, running out of topic ideas, no graphic designer. Okay, okay. Noted, noted. So why are we answering all this? Well, essentially we're answering all this to really explore how everyone in this group for today, we're all in this together, are actually pretty much on the similar boat, right? We're all in a similar boat. When it comes to social media, it's like the top 3 things are mainly the topics, don't know how to write well. Sometimes it's no graphic designer or time to post, and sometimes it's also about disheartened about low engagement. But today we will be able to address some of these key issues that you may have. And hopefully it will help you figure out how you can write better or even find out how to create more topics. So definitely don't feel disheartened by all these different challenges you have. Today, I hope that what we cover will allow you to really just explore it further and actually be able to have a framework that will support you in your social media channel growth. Um, Next question. How well would you say you know your audience? If you are with a business, so assuming you don't have a business, I don't think this applies to you, but I would say if you have followers on Instagram or even Facebook for that matter, like you would imagine that, you would have followers, right? So how well do you know your target audience? Not so well. Some say very well. Some say not well at all. Okay. So many are saying not so well. Okay. Um, good. Okay, okay. Well, it's okay to not know your audience not so well, but I think when it comes to social media, knowing your audience well is actually going to help a lot. Okay, so 11 of you have answered and mainly not so well or not well at all. You're in the right class. Today we're going to make you get to know your audience better for sure. So let's go to the next one. What key takeaway would you like to achieve today? So one thing or a couple of things that you want to achieve, share with me. What would you like to really learn? And I'll try to really address that during the entire session. But based on our icebreakers so far, I think I'll be addressing quite a lot of things that you guys have challenges with anyways. So what would you like to achieve today? Benchmark on other content. I assume that's content. Anything else? Any other person wants to share? No, that's it. Benchmarks only. How to be more creative. Okay. Tips on creating good content. Okay, for sure. We're going to go through that. Definitely we'll have benchmarks as well on content as well. Make a practical content, convert, lead to. Ooh. You mean like you want to create content that converts to leads? Possible. We'll be exploring a little bit more on that as well. Where to find the content, some references. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people want to know about content and graphic hack for non-designer. Have you not heard of Canva? Well, we'll explore that later. I will give you guys some top 10 tools as well that I utilize in order for me to create good content. So you don't have to worry. We're going to go through all that. So amazing. Okay. In the interest of time, we are going to begin right now. So I hope you guys are ready and pumped. We are beginning in now. Thank you for participating. So before I start teaching, or rather empowering you guys, remember the decisions that you make turn your brand's vision, mission, and values into something tangible for your audience. It humanizes your brand and shows your customers what you care about, what your purpose is, and where you are going. Essentially, what I'm trying to say here is this: the fundamentals of creating a good content strategy begins with understanding your brand's mission, vision, and values. It is very, very basic in your mind, but sometimes it is not refined enough for the average person to fully understand what you're trying to say. So going with the fundamentals of vision, mission, and values, it allows you to really, really get the person to understand, oh, that is what this company does. What does this company do? This is the one liner. This is their vision. So you've got to ask yourself, right? When it comes to vision, mission, and values, where are you headed? What do you hope to achieve? What are you working towards? What about your purpose, your mission, right? What do you want to do and what is it for? Who is it for that matter, right? And what do you stand for? What are your ethics and beliefs when it comes to values? So when you look at the pyramid on the left, you'll see there's vision, mission, and values. And your values are the most core thing that makes the foundation of you, meaning whether you may be you're honest, you have integrity, you have you're empowering. That's your values. You're empowering, or you're not a cheat or something like that. So there are many things that people can have in their values where it comes from how you were brought up or how you see the world, and therefore you live your life in with those values. And then there's the something that, and it's something that is totally achievable because it is who you are and your core beliefs. So think about what your values are, and then we go further up the pyramid and we'll see your mission. So knowing your values, who you are, and your core beliefs, what exactly is your purpose here in your business for your target audience, or what's your purpose in general? If you're currently like not working and you're trying to figure out like what's going on in my life, who do I want to be, ask yourself your core values, then look into your mission, right? Like, what's your purpose? Why do you want to do what you do, and what is it for? And I promise you, this will make sense later on in social media content because it really is what is the fundamental. So what's the mission? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to say to the world, right? And finally, what do you aspire to become or be? Like, you have a mission, right? You might have a mission like, oh, I want to be the premium service provider in content writing. Okay, that's a mission. But what's your vision? Oh, I want to be the lead. The mission is like, I provide the best content writing for customers, for my customers. But what's your vision? I want to be the number one content writer or content provider for my target audience, or for whoever it is that you want to target to. So remember that your vision, mission, and values, they go from your what is achievable to aspirational. So in that light, I want you to think about it. What are your vision, mission, and values? Who are you as a brand? Establish a strong foundation by defining your mission, vision, and values. So I have an activity for you already. I know it's really fast, right? And I want you to take this 5 minutes to actually just write it down, because I'm going to ask you, what are your vision, mission, and values? And I would love to hear you share, for those of you who are keen to share, what they are, in order for us to really dissect whether you understand what it means to have vision and mission and values. Now, for some of you who are still not sure, you can always ask me. But a vision is your plans for org and relation to overall company goals. So imagine, like, what's the company vision, right? To reiterate what I said earlier. And your mission is your objectives and way to meet them. How do you do it? Whether you provide content, like, what do you do? And values is your principles, right? What do you do principally to support your culture, your vision, your philosophy? What's your philosophy as an individual? Now, I think Rina has given the workbook, and if you guys have downloaded it, you can type it directly from there. If you don't have your workbook and you're viewing from your mobile phone, then you can start writing this down in a piece of paper, and I will be asking you, and I'll give you 5 minutes. So actually, I won't give you 5 minutes. I'm giving you 4 minutes. So 9:25, I'll start pulling you and getting volunteers to share with me your vision, mission, and values for activity 1. Go for it. No questions, yeah? Semua macam silent. Pagi-pagi semua macam tidur eh. It's okay. I'm here. Gonna be pumped and energetic. I just realized I'm the only one on video. Go on, guys. Waiting for your answers. If anyone has questions, feel free to reach out to me. We've got a minute more, guys. And then I'll start pulling your names, and hopefully y'all will be a bit chirpy and share me your vision, mission, and values. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers, right? At this point, we're still exploring, we're still learning, we're on a framework, and that's what matters. The framework is supposed to support you in figuring out in a clearer manner. So sometimes people get confused with vision and mission. So again, if you feel unsure, this is the time for you to ask me, because I'm giving you a few minutes to talk to me directly in front of the class on these things. But also, if you're shy to ask, you can also ask me another time, because I give out my email address, and if you want to reach out to me, I'm around. All right, it's 9:25, so I would like to call upon any volunteers who have managed to scribble down really quickly their business vision, mission, and values. Anybody want to try? No? Everybody's shy? Wow, everybody's shy gonna make me talk to myself today, is it? This is an
Hello.
interactive. Oh, hi, Dia. Hello.
Hi. Hello, Nadzirah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nadzirah and everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. I just want to try. So basically, I'm joining this workshop because I am now working with one of the agriculture bank in Malaysia.
Okay.
So I am handling their social media platforms and creating content. So for the past few months, it has been quite a good roller coaster journey. So I managed to like gain followers and whatnot lah. But I'm still new in this field, so I guess it's a good platform for me to learn from an expert like you lah. So I just wanna share the vision.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether it's right or wrong. As you say, there's no right or wrong, right? So the vision is to strengthen digital presence of my company, especially among the younger audience, to be more interested in agriculture, because I find that is a problem that I need to help to solve lah, to
Okay.
attract younger people to be more interested in agriculture. So the mission, I would say, to elevate the content on my social media to be more fresh, engaging, and appeals to the younger target audience.
Okay.
The values part, I'm not that sure, but I would say creative, fresh, maybe, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, this is very interesting. So you work for a agriculture bank, is that correct?
Yep. Yep, correct.
So what's interesting about that is the vision, mission, and values that you define is like your vision, mission, and values, you as an individual, which is great because I think you understand the vision, mission very perfectly, and the values comes from your own personal values, which is great as well. Now you got to explore how do you merge that with the vision, mission, and values of the company as a whole, right? The bank in itself and their values, right? And their mission. Because obviously social media is not their only vision and mission. They have
Correct.
more than that. So I would invite you to take a look at their vision, mission, and values and try to really dissect that as well as their core beliefs, because in the end what you're doing is you're using your young fresh take and you're kind of fusing it with their existing brand values and vision and mission, and then creating that voice on social media. So imagine, like, you're that young voice, you're able to create that engaging content, but now it's trying to push the direction of how do I take this old brand or like this older like generation business was built before social media, how do I communicate it in a young fresh way but still retain the brand ethos? Because in the end you have to understand, when they defined their vision and mission and values 10, 15, 20 years ago, however long ago they did it, they would have had a strong understanding of what their business objectives are, but then now you have to communicate that on social media. So you have the right frame of mind with the voice and the direction and your values, but now I would invite you to have a look at theirs. So ask your boss or whatever if they have a brand guide. They should, by right, with these things, with vision, mission, and values, and you explore how you merge that together. And we'll talk about that more in the next parts of this session. So good job on sharing. Thank you so much. Okay. Shall we go on to one more person? Anybody else want to share?
Hello, Nadzirah. Good morning.
Good morning, Azura.
Okay. So basically, I did not build any business. I'm just a lecturer. I just want to know what are the best thing in a way so I can share with my students. So basically, so I'm just like Scrabble on the mission, visions, and value. So I'm talking about my diploma program. Is it okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so talking about vision here, so you said that it's about plan. So I think that I would like to write out to be top 3 IPTA program in Malaysia. So meaning talking about my program that I'm handling. So the mission is, you say it's about the objective, what you want your audience or what I want my students to be. Yes. So I can say that to create a junior practitioners, to create an expert junior practitioners in a new media industry. So talking about value, so I Google out. So I found that the value can be divided into a character value, a work value, or a personal value. So maybe I need to have these 3 value to my students. So they know how to work with, meaning with other people. So they need to know communication well. They need to be an expert in the technical skills that I learned during the diploma. And the personal thing, meaning what we call the interpersonal skills, they also need to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is great values to have, especially with the vision and mission that you are trying to achieve. So I think in terms of when it comes to say content, right? I think like really, really good vision, mission, and values. Now it's like, if you were to interact with your community, or rather your students online, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, whatever medium you try to use, this core definition that you've created is actually going to be the stepping stone towards how you branch out later when you create content. So great start. I hope you've written that down somewhere.
Yeah.
And that as we proceed to the next activities, we can then explore further like how that goes. Thank you so much, Azura. All right, great. I see one from Evelyn here. I'm just going to read it out just because she says her speaker is not working and she wants to try. So Evelyn says, the core success of our company is the use of safe natural products free from harmful chemicals. We aim to be key influencers in the skincare industry. Our company's purpose is to create a community where we teach people the skills that they need to sustain themselves in life. By creating exceptional products free of harmful chemicals, we can bring you purity and joy too. Our core values. We are driven to inspire you with our products. We are always evolving to teach and instill creative ideas in the skincare industry so that we produce exceptionally high quality skincare products. So I think overall, this is a very good description of your core mission, vision, and values. And as you have this written, I definitely would say we will explore further on how you will expand this in the content direction. So thank you for sharing, Evelyn. Okay, if anybody else is wanting to share, this is your final chance. After that, we're going to move to the next activity. I'm giving you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, nobody wants to answer. It's okay. We've got more activities to come, more opportunities for you to try. But now let's proceed to the next section. So thank you for your participation. Okay, so next up, we know our vision, mission, and values. Imagine you're a business or an individual. Even if you work for a company, we all have vision, missions, and values. Look around you. How do you communicate to these people, right? Like, this is the fundamental. Like, how do I convince you to actually say, I resonate with that. I believe in that. My values resonates with you, or I really want to endorse in your vision or your mission. What makes me or you decide that, you know what, I will endorse in this? So look around you. How do you convince someone, right? So the most important thing is obviously how to do that is to know your audience, right? It's such a basic answer, but as you guys answered in our icebreaker, many of us do not know our target audience, or rather we don't get to know our target audience. So the fundamental thing that I have to say before you create any good content as a marketer is to get to know who they are in order to understand their needs and wants, and how you as a brand or as an individual communicator can fit into their lifestyles. It's like when we go out and meet someone or we like somebody, we're not just gonna like jump into them. We have to be like, okay, like I got to get to know you first. I got to know what you like, what you dislike. Otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? So that's how marketers do it as well. How we communicate in advertising or social media. We have our thoughts about knowing about our audience. At least really good marketers, they do this for sure. So let's think about this, right? As I said, when you set up, you've got to think of one thing. Oops, I don't know why that happened. The question, like I said earlier, do you know your target audience? How well do you know them, right? What other brands do they like to interact with? Do you have influencers or key opinion leaders? So influencers and KOLs are the same, just in case you guys are wondering. Who you believe are perfectly suited for your brand? So all these questions are very general, but we're going to dig deeper into it, because marketing is not just about marketing, it's about the market, which is the audience, which is why we must care about them first and foremost. So the answer to all your questions that I've asked earlier is the buyer's persona. So what is the buyer's persona? So the buyer's persona, I'll show you an example shortly, but in a nutshell, it's a profile of your audience, of you, of me, of everyone around us. And it's like a bio data, if you made a simpler way of saying it. And what it is to know things that I like, what I dislike, my age, what I do for a living. Because when you create a buyer's persona, it helps you know what behavior will trigger me to do something or not do something. It helps me determine what kind of content. If you show me cat videos or dog videos or food videos, I'm probably going to be like, yeah, I love it. But if you showed me like, I don't know, news about cryptocurrency, okay, I like cryptocurrency news, so maybe I'll like it, but some people might not. So you have to think like, what will attract me as an individual, or you, who your target audience is. Third thing is it identifies content your audience likes and what their daily motivations are. Just like I said earlier, what does Nadzirah like? What does everyone else like? Imagine that. And then the fourth thing is it helps you decide on which type of collaborations or influencer works for you. So it's very important to know that a lot of tying into content is also related to influencers. Why? Because influencers create content. And if you're going to engage with an influencer, a lot of times it fails because you never gave them direction of what kind of content you think will resonate with your audience. So this is something really important to note, that if you are planning on engaging in any influencer, please at least understand the fundamentals of who your buyers are and make sure that they match. And I have a different course for that, but this conversation today is just for you to understand that it interrelates. Okay, so how do we jump into that? Well, there's the 4 personas. So the 4 personas is really a quadrant of what kinds of people we are. We all are. And believe it or not, I'm sure some of these will resonate with you. And we'll start with the top left. So the top left of the quadrant is the humanist. And the humanist has a more emotional drive, and they're slow decision makers. And typically when they browse on the internet, they're like concerned with how the product benefits others. So these are the people who likes looking at testimonials. They want to get to know the team. They always look for pictures. Like when they go through the website, imagine you must have done this in your life where you're like browsing through a website or you're browsing through a social media channel and you notice that there are no pictures of people. And if you resonate and you're like, where are all the people? I don't want to follow this brand. There's nobody in it. I feel like it's a fake brand. That is a classic humanist perception where you're like, I don't see the people behind the brand. I don't see testimonials. I am not convinced. So if any of you are that, like, I resonate, like, and I say that humanists are emotionally driven because they look at the people behind the brand, but they also make slow decisions when it comes to buying. So why does that matter? Because in the end, if you are trying to create content for a humanist, a pure humanist, you've got to think like, have I added testimonials? Have I showed the team behind my brand? These are questions that we need to think of. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have the spontaneous, who is also emotionally driven, but the quick decision makers. So these are the guys who are like, buy one, get one free, or 50% discount, get it now before it's too late. So how many of you resonate with that? How many of you have that spontaneous trait where you're like, you chase the bright, shiny object. You want to know the thrill or experience the product provides. You want everything to look like, boom, flashy, and then I'll take it, I'll buy it. So you usually will, like, typically the spontaneous will be the ones who would read the articles and be like, do this now and you will change your life, or read this book and you will lose weight. I mean, of course, that's unrealistic, but those catchy headlines that you see when people write those kind of copies, this is built for the spontaneous. 100%. And that's really interesting to note, right? Because on one end of the spectrum, you have the humanist, emotional, slow decision maker, and on the other end, the spontaneous, emotional decision maker. They're just going to take action. So it's good to have these, and sometimes you might be a bit of both, but you just need to understand that as human beings, we're not just one thing. We're usually a little bit more of certain things depending on the situation and product. But we break it down like this because you get to understand how the different aspects come together. So the next one I would look into is the competitive. So going down, right, to the bottom right of this quadrant, you see the quick decision maker, but very logical. So the competitives are typically the ones who want to know how the product will advance their goals. So they're the ones that look at the logos, like, have you put your certifications? Have you been featured in the media? What kind of celebrity have you been endorsed with? Or who is the influencers? Like, what kind of cool people are you working with? And are they the best as well? They just want to be the best. And whatever that best means, it doesn't mean that you have to be the best and like spend money on like high level influencers or certifications. It's just really about knowing your market and triggering the things that would show credibility to the competitors. So because they're the type of people who are much more logical, and if they think that this product is really like high quality and has been endorsed as the best by certified bodies or influential people, they will usually purchase the product. And so that's the case. And then there's, on the left side, the methodical. So the methodicals are people who are very detail oriented. Now, I wonder how many of you are methodicals. Methodicals are the ones who will, if you guys run a business, I don't know if you've been in this situation where this person is asking like 50 million questions and asking you about the fine print of the product. They'll be like, hey, what is this product? Or what is this in this ingredient? I don't know what this is. I don't understand this. Can you please explain it to me? They are extremely detail oriented. They will read the disclaimer and every little description because they want to make sure they get it right. They're very caring about whatever they endorse in. And they would like to see more evidence-based why the product will work for them. So just like humanists, they like the testimonials, but they also wouldn't mind like scientific facts or like, statistics or studies that show that the product is actually good for them. So you're going to have to show numbers, stats. That really is going to attract the methodical. So like overall, these are the different four personas that actually make up all of us individually. Some of us may weigh more towards certain things. Others may weigh more to one thing. But overall, most people are at least one or two lah. Sometimes three. And like I said to you, it depends on the product and the situation. So you have to imagine though, when you create content, that this is a good guideline to understand that all four pieces of elements should fit into your content strategy. It doesn't have to fit into one piece of content. It just needs to fit into your entire content strategy. So whether you're communicating to the humanist, the spontaneous, the methodical, and competitive, we'll have examples later on in this session. So don't worry about grasping the knowledge of how this gets applied. So this is an example of a humanist. So I created this just so that you have an idea of, for you to understand what needs to be filled up. And the activity of today is really for you to understand it so that you can do it yourself. So this is Terry Jackson, right? She's supposedly a humanist, and she's an MBA student. So we created this, I believe, for like an NGO company or something like that. And it's a sample, it's not a real person. So she's an MBA student at a George Washington University. She's 23 years old. Her industry is education. Her income is like X amount per year. You can also do per month if you want. The education, what did she study, her job scope, her KPIs, her personality, her favorite websites, content, brands. And I really stress on this to everyone, please fill in their personality traits, websites, content, and brands, because that really will impact how we shape content around them. And then language spoken, marital status, and favorite quote. So all these things that we see here are different things that we want to try and gather about a particular persona. And we are assuming she's a humanist because perhaps she resonated with content that was more human-centric. And so we put her in the world of humanists, but understand that, as I mentioned before, Terry could also actually maybe be a humanist methodical, or a humanist spontaneous, or a humanist competitive. It's really depending on your business and the profile customers that you ideally will want to target. So when you're doing this profiling, you have to understand that it's not just doing profiling. It's about doing a profile, knowing that these customers are the right ones that you want for the business, because you think they will serve the need of the product or service really highly. So yeah, when you think about creating your personas, remember, it's not just about filling it up, it's about filling it up with the business in mind, obviously. So there's also Rachel Martinez. She's a spontaneous. So another example, right? She's a president of Glow. She's 20. She's in environmental science. She earns $45,000 a year. She's got a job scope in environmental science and geography. Her personality, So you see these different personalities and you understand that they're different. And why does that matter? Because really, when you start to talk to Terry versus Rachel, you've got to create a content strategy with these personas in mind. And so, for example, while Rachel might be into female empowerment, Terry is into global news, travel destinations, cultural stories, sustainable solutions. But that doesn't mean that you have to write about all this. It means that later on, you'll find the commonality and how you can tune in your content with their interests. So for example, like the bank, the agriculture bank, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about cat videos and pictures, but maybe you can. I don't know. We'll have to see, right? But female empowerment, that might work. And knowing that Terry likes global news, perhaps we can talk about female empowerment in the global news. So these are like ways where we can explore, but we can't explore it if we don't define our target audience, right? And so it's the same with the methodicals, right? There's Trey here and he has his own interests, or Brian, he has his own interests as a competitive. So we create these multiple layers of profiles in order for us to really dig deep and have almost like a mind map of all the things, or rather like a word board that shows everything that everyone likes and how do we merge it together with our content strategy. So that's an example. Now, I want you to go through this process because I think it's very important that you do, and I'm giving you time for it. So I don't expect you to do all 4. I would like you to try and do at least 1 or 2 if you can. I don't know. But based on the examples of different personas, identify the personality traits and habits of your brand's audience in as much details as possible. So in the workbook, you should have received this, which gives an empty form of what these people are supposed to be. And these are obviously resonating to your audience. And I want you to fill it out. Remember, if you don't have the workbook on you, you can also just write it in pen and paper, but I'm leaving this as a reference so that you guys have an idea. I can also go back to this one, but does anyone have any questions about this activity? You? Right, so, yes, did I hear something? No? Okay, so.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Nadzirah. So
Yes.
basically, it's if we aren't sure on our audience, so we can be like hypothetical of their background, right?
So, okay, good question. So how do we find out more about our customers? So if you have existing customers, or you have an ideal, say I'm your customer, how are you going to find out information about me? You could find me on LinkedIn, you could find me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and you study my Instagram profile and you try and figure out what am I, like, what are my interests? What do you think I like? Go through me and stalk my profile, right? So assuming you know who your customers are, if you don't know your customers at all, and you have an idea already, you say they're like, I don't know, 35 to 40-year-olds, and they are on Twitter because you know that they're on Twitter, or they're your followers on your social media channel already, or have engaged in your content before, like say an existing customer, when you promoted something to someone on your social media page and you got an inquiry from them, or they liked or commented on your page, it kind of means that they're semi-interested, right? So we can use that as a benchmark to start this process, so that you have an idea that, why did she interact with me? Perhaps they were interested. So we could try to create a profile around them if you want. Hope that helps, Ashraf.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Anyone have other questions? No? Right, so I'm giving you guys till 10 o'clock. I know it's quite fast, so try to fill out as much as you can. And if it's too long, if you're like struggling, reach out to me. But if not, I can also give extra time. But let's see. 10 o'clock, I'll revisit this, but please fill out at least 1. And like I said, find them on social media. If they follow you on your business page, check your followers, click on their profile, see if they're not private, maybe you can see it, or Google them. There's many ways to find your potential audience. Pretty much most people have digital footprint these days, or if you're friends with them on Facebook or whatever groups that they're in with you, just explore that. So 10 minutes from now, and I'm still here if you need to ask any questions. Good luck. I hear someone calling my name.
Yeah, Jessie here.
Hi, Jessie.
Yeah, hi. Can you show the methodological, yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
This one.
Okay. Yeah, can I? Yeah, I just want to.
Okay. But remember, your methodical person doesn't have to be this person. It's like.
Yeah, it's a sample, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Nadira, can show the humanist as well?
We've got about 5 more minutes. If any of you needs my help, let me know. I'm here. 2 minutes more, guys. All right, time is up. It's 10 a.m. Congratulations, we've made it to the first hour. We've only got 2 more hours to go. But I would love to hear from one of you or two of you, if possible, on your audience profile. Was there any volunteers, or is everybody going to be shy again? Anybody want to volunteer to try, or did you guys need more time? I could give an additional 2 more minutes. Yes? No? Everybody's still shy. Come on, guys. Part 2 already. And don't worry, if you didn't finish it, it's okay. You can complete later. But what I want is to see that you started somewhere, right? So anybody keen to try their profile for their audience in completing it? No, really? Everybody's like not sure? Wow. Okay, guys. If you're really unsure, this is your opportunity to ask me and get like clarification. And you don't have to worry if you didn't fully finish it.
Nadzirah, can I try?
Yes, Azura, of course.
Okay, so basically my audience is my students itself.
Okay.
So looking through the criteria here, I thought that my students is a spontaneous category.
Okay.
Okay, so the job title is actually they are students, so the age is around 19 to 21.
Mhm.
So the industry is education. So income, I can identify their parents is actually around B40, M40.
Okay.
Okay, so so the education, so we are actually a diploma in new media communication and contempreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
That is our program. So the job scope is actually, so if they graduate, so they will work in the creative industry as junior media practitioners, content creators, maybe some sort graphic designers, web content creators, because our key is a contentpreneurship. So they create content. So they need to sell content.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the KPI, I guess, I think my students actually to graduate, finish the 2.5 years.
Yes.
So some of them, I guess, like around 70% of them is actually working after their diploma, and the balance is actually continuing pursue the degree.
Okay.
So you're talking about the personality trait. So this is what did I do when they started first semester. So I would like to know what is actually the traits of my students. So normally they are in the category of extrovert, introvert, and ambivert.
Okay.
Okay. So normally, because our program is actually cater the web development, animation, content development, and also game content development. So normally the website is actually around there.
Okay.
Gaming website, animation website, and what we call gaming websites. So the favorite contents, I guess, because my students, they are youngsters and millennials generations. So normally they love something that more entertainment, TikTok wise. So I also need to be in trend of TikTok while giving, teaching them. So that will be in terms of that. And I don't know, they did not watch YouTube, I guess. Because when I asked them to like give and shoot any ideas, they were giving me some cliché ideas, the same ideas. I don't know why. Maybe I skip on the favorite brands lah on that part. So language spoken. So most of my students in Malay and English. Maybe because of the K-pop evaluations, some of them learned Korean. So normally their status is singles, and their favorite quotes is like, do the work last minute, I guess.
That's funny. Actually, I wanted to highlight, you mentioned that they like K-pop. That's their favorite content, no?
Yeah.
Part of it?
So I also need to give some examples that maybe related to Blackpink or some sort of the favorite Korean series, drama series. So they will amazed that, oh, madam, you know that series. I said, yes, I also watch that thing.
That's exactly it, right? That the more you get to know your audience or your students in this case, the more you get to understand how to get them to resonate with you best.
They're also impressed. I know about TikTok. I said I need to be at par at you. So at least I can like know you well, so I can share that kind of things, and also blend together with the syllabus that they learned for every semester.
My suggestion though, with the fact that you're not sure what content they're consuming on TikTok yet, would be to explore that. So because TikTok has a range of content, right? Some of them are topics about psychology, or other topics are about tutorials on like life hacks, and others are dance tutorials. So it would be interesting for you to explore what your students like in TikTok in specific niches of content, because that will also give you an idea of what kind of favorite content they are consuming. So for example, okay, they may like content about K-pop, Korean dance tutorials, or are they liking memes about K-pop community, or they could be liking anime on top of K-pop. We don't know, right? But this is the part where, as you explore, feel free to ask them like, what else do you guys like to watch? What hashtags do you follow? Try to get a deeper understanding of what in TikTok, because TikTok's huge when it comes to content types. And when it comes to this exercise, it's really good for you to really dig even deeper than where you're at, which is already great. It's so that you can also, like you said, get to know them better and really stay in trend with what they like and dislike. And what you're going to start to see as well is it evolves every year, or every semester, or every generation of students that you're going to get. It changes, right? So this exercise is always going to be good for you, because it's constant to know what they like and dislike and stay on top of it. So
they did not follow Facebook. They did not have a Facebook account. They just have a Instagram and TikTok. Twitter also, they did not have it.
Yeah, so like exactly like 10, 15 years ago, that may have been different. A different generation would have been not on TikTok, but maybe on Facebook more. So it's really important to do this, guys, because of that, because they changed. We change throughout time, generations evolve, and content interest as well changes. So thanks for your attempt, Nadzirah.
Okay.
Any other person who wants to volunteer to try? I think I can slot in one more person if they're keen. Anyone else? And don't forget, you don't have to make it complete fully, but I think it's the attempt that matters. Yes?
Hello.
Yes? Ashraf, is that you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
I'm trying to do a profile on methodical. So basically, I'm imagining the job title is now CEO on telecommunication industry, age 55, with income of 23,000 ringgit.
Okay.
Had her education at NYU possibly, with her job scope of engage more on spread the 5G connection.
Okay.
And her KPI is increase like 50% of connection in rural areas. So the personality traits that I could imagine is like strict like a mom. Favorite website probably will be LinkedIn. Favorite content, TED Talk. Favorite brands probably Prada. Language spoken on English and French. Marital status, married with 3 children. Favorite quote, human beings are much bigger than just making money. So why did I choose methodical is that I'm trying because part of my vision and mission probably will be relating on tourism.
Okay.
And usually I was too much focused on youth and like a solo traveler, but thinking of after pandemic, probably people want to spend together, right? And I was thinking like when it comes to family, parents can be very meticulous in planning their trip. So and being meticulous, especially after pandemic, will be very concerned of what safety procedure and such that make me thinking that traveling with safety or SOP will be the next or the new way of new normal of traveling after this. And it got me thinking like if this kind of parents are really like thorough enough of what I'm delivering, so I'm just putting out there as a beginner lah.
Okay. So you sell tourism. You sell tours or travel itineraries to.
That was my startup planning, but it was interrupted during Q2 of pandemic last year.
Yeah. So what would be this? What would you like to say? What kind of service or products are you thinking of providing the persona that you just shared with us?
It's sort of experiential, where rather than we are like having over tourism, it's more like you have a personal touch with the community. And also I want them to be responsible of their carbon footprint. Where in the beginning I was thinking like they have an app installed in their phone where it track the carbon footprint, and at the end of their travel, the carbon footprint will be replaced with tree planting.
Okay.
And that's I'm sorting out like this tourism is not only to provide the experience, but also to kind of like inject responsibility towards environment.
Okay.
So this tourism is more on not only on impact on the society, but also impact on the environment. So I'm trying to be balanced, but as much as possible, we know that to advocate that kind of of image requires a lot of work. But I know I've seen a lot of nowadays. There's a lot of advocates. I think I could leverage on that, but I haven't explored on it yet.
Okay. I think when it comes to say the target audience that you defined, which is a methodical, she sounds like a very high-powered woman, like tiger mom, as you mentioned, and what service you're trying to provide. And you highlighting the fact that she's a parent, she was distressed on making sure her children have a meticulous experience. When it comes to travel, first of all, you need to look into whether she cares about the environment, enough to want to meticulously talk about it and make sure her children endorse in the travel experience themselves. So meaning, however you decide to do the research on your target audience, remember to also include understanding your business vision, mission, and values, and how you would relate to her. If she buys from Prada, if she consumes content from wherever she does, like, how would you communicate with her overall? Like, and do you think you have enough information? Is knowing one favorite website or one favorite content, one favorite brand enough for you to really dig deeper? This is why, like I said, extensiveness is very important, and it's almost like a methodical method. But it is a methodical method of trying to figure out how to appeal to your target audience. So great effort, and try to expand on that. Like, I would invite you to expand further, because you'll be surprised. You might figure out, like, she's a meticulous mother who wants to make sure her children are responsible. So maybe the content angle can be like, think of your children in the future. Travel needs to be more sustainable. Here's the travel package for you that reduces carbon footprint with your kids. Something like that, right? Like, that could be a content angle if you think she really is really going to resonate with her children's future, for example. So yeah, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Dia, you have your hand raised, and I also see Daniel Ashraf has left a little blurb. I'm gonna go with Daniel first, just because he left that earlier while Ashraf was talking. Okay, so Daniel Ashraf says, I'm selling homemade sambal through Shopee and Lazada. I believe my audience would be a spontaneous type of persona. Usually it'll be like a nurse who's in the medical industry. She's age 23. She earns about 24,000 ringgit a year. She's in nursing. Her job scope is treating people, personality traits, brave, hardworking, loves challenges, easily distracted. Favorite websites: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Shopee. I'm glad you highlighted Shopee. Favorite content: K-pop, Malay drama, language spoken, English, Malay, marital status, single. As business owner, I want more people to buy my products. My other question: how do I want to get other persona to buy my products? So I think the thing is, that's where you have to start to explore further, right? You know that mainly they're spontaneous, but perhaps the content angle that you're going for right now is very spontaneous driven. So have a look at your collaterals, your visuals. Like, are you doing the buy one free one type of content? And are you doing like bright colors and like, very like, beli satu dapat satu, or 50% off, or like dapatkan sekarang Siti Nurhaliza dah beli sambal saya, like, is that something that you're doing? Because then definitely that will attract many spontaneous people. But say you want to attract, say, methodical and humanist or competitives, do you have the stamp of approval or reviews or testimonials that you show on your channels? That will also support to bring in more. And then also the other thing that you just also need to, and then of course your ingredients. So like, you don't have to share your full ingredients, but you see, the thing about methodicals is they care about the details of the product. So I don't know if you have like levels of sambal and you tell them the story of how your levels of sambal, do better or whatever, but like, the more details you give about your product, the more the methodicals will get appealed to that. But I think something you need to do is also to dig into your existing pool of audience. And I'm glad you have the spontaneous, but definitely look further. I'm sure you have different kinds. Like, have you had customers who mainly message you and ask you details about the product? Always asking you like, do you have this? You do delivery, like very detail oriented. Those are typically methodicals. And if you say, yeah, I have probably gotten one or two, it means it's a very small pool, but they're there. And if you want to know more about them, then dig into their personalities, these profiles. Try to find them on social media, or if they're on your social media channels, like follow them and see what they like or dislike. But yeah, I hope that helps. Great attempt, definitely good insights. Okay, let's go to, who was it just now that was raising their hands? Dia, right? Dia, are you there? You want to share?
Actually, I just want to like add some points to Daniel's questions, because I do feel the same. I just want to share my point of view with the rest of the people today. I think, yeah, I mean, like to maybe attract other personas like humanist and also methodical. Maybe you can describe what chilies are you using, nutritional values. That will be more appealing to the methodical people lah. And then, as you say just now, if you know, like if you could compare the sambal, like let's say that there's a testimony saying that, oh, this sambal is better than Karo Aming's, that could be a good additional value to your sambal, and that could also attract humanists maybe perhaps. So I think I really like your explanation on how Daniel can also improve the marketing strategy, which is I really appreciate as well. Thank you, Nadzirah.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. And we'll definitely explore these content examples after this section. So we'll have different case studies that I have extracted on the internet of different famous brands that you can see and understand how this is applied to the personas later on. So thank you for all your participation, guys. Okay, if there are no other questions, and you guys have congratulations, you've done this. And for those of you who still aren't sure or you need insights, feel free to reach out to me outside. I'll provide my email address later, but you can definitely reach out to me. We are going for a 5-minute break. Yeah, so it is 10:19. I'll give you 6 minutes in that sense. 10:25, we'll be right back here, but go get a coffee. I mean, it's already 10 a.m., but I've had my coffee. Might have a second one. I don't know if I need that. But I will go for a bathroom break. So if anybody needs that too, we'll reconvene at 10:25 and take it from there. So in the meantime, if you have any additional questions, drop it in the chat box and I'll address it after I come back from the break. Thank you, everyone. 5 minutes, 10:25. All right, everyone, welcome back. It is 10:25 a.m. and I would like to start in time. So hope you guys had a nice little short break and got your cup of coffee or your tea, or you went for your bathroom break. I know I did, and I'm about to begin. So just to recap what we learned earlier, we've gone through the vision, mission, and values. We've gone through the bias persona, and I've invited you to share your bias persona, and also invite you to continue to expand on that in your own time. But now let's just try to ask this really important question. So what do you do with your bias persona, right? Like, I think I've mentioned it a few times in the entire conversations that we've had, but the main thing is really about campaign creation. And what does campaign creation mean? It means to create a big message that you're trying to address to the customer, or customers rather, and really trying to give them the different stages that they may be in your content strategy. So for example, this is what you see right now in what we call a conversion funnel, right? Every customer, whether you and I, whoever, will go through this process. You might have your personas already ready, but the thing you need to understand first is just look at the left side of this screen and look at the things that we need to understand in a customer's journey. When we discover a brand, typically, how do you communicate to the customer when they discover a brand? So you always have to remember, right, that if you sold sambal, I don't want to just buy your sambal just because it's convenient. There are hundreds of other sambal, thousands of sambal brands that I could buy. But why would I buy your sambal? Is it because it has, is it gluten-free? I don't know, sambals are all gluten-free, right? But is it less sugar? Is it the most spiciest? You just have to imagine that what makes someone want to resonate. So when they discover your brand, are you addressing the main issues and concerns that they have, or the questions that they might have? And then the content types that would resonate with them. And we've explored that in the persona, right? So, and then topics or headlines. How do you merge in discovery stage what a person would resonate with when they have zero idea about your brand? They've never heard of you in their entire life. Now you're trying to attract them. How would you present yourself to them, knowing that you currently have a persona of them? You know kind of what they like. You're kind of sure that they like K-pop, for example. Could you say this sambal is loved by many Koreans? I don't know. It all depends. It really depends on the product. And I can't give it right now because, we don't have solid product details, but you should know your own product or brand and service. And you should be imagining, oh, how would my persona resonate at discovery stage if they've never heard of me? What would they like? So think about that. And then further down the funnel, we have triggers. So you have to imagine that as much as I've never heard of you, or imagine now I finally heard of you and I look at you and I'm like, oh, right, there's a brand here, right? Okay. What's going to trigger me to say I'll follow this brand or I won't follow this brand? Typically, you'll need to understand what makes them tick. And again, this goes back to their persona. What makes them tick? So someone mentioned earlier about, was it Ashraf, about the travel thing, right? You think she cares about carbon footprint. Okay, if you think so, how would you communicate that to her? What triggers her? What's going to make her say, right, I think I need to be more environmentally conscious for my children's future. Therefore, I will take them only on sustainable travel. How does that work? How would you imagine would make her trigger these needs, right? So like I said, could it be in an angle of your children's future depends on it, so support sustainable travel? I don't know, it depends. And then further down, there's searches, right? So the thing is, when I'm on discovery and trigger stage, I see the brand, I know it, they're addressing the issues that might resonate with me. But at that point, it doesn't mean that I'm going to make the decision. every now and then, yeah, maybe the spontaneous might be like, I'm going to buy straight. Usually that's the bright, shiny object people. They jump straight to buying. However, you have to realize most of us are not like that. Spontaneous happens depending on the product, pricing, and the promotion itself. So when it comes to search, most of us are always searching. We wouldn't just buy the sambal just because. We would want to know more about what is it that's good about it. So within every persona, you need to understand that addressing, for example, testimonials, addressing the certification or the reviews of like endorsements, and sharing, say, like what the methodicals would do, which is like nutrition facts or ingredients lists, or all kinds of things, like how much you've sold, for example, like that this product is endorsed by 100% guarantee return, no one returns the product. So these are all the little triggers that you have to imagine will help the person, as they're searching, decide whether they want to buy. And then further down for the persona, when they have finally bought it, they're going through that process of like, oh, I bought it, yay, here's my money, take it. You have to imagine that there may be moments in there where they might not like your product or like it, but they think they can find better. You, as the seller or the service provider, just have to imagine, like, you're working backwards here. You don't want to address the problem later. You're just going to say like, okay, what are the 10 things that are likely a methodical or spontaneous or competitive? They may or may not complain about my product. Have I got the backings for it? Have I got some strategy that I can, keep them to become a retaining customer? Because in the end, when it comes to buying and selling services or products, it's all about how long your customer will stay with you. And that's why further down the funnel, there's stay. Because just because I buy today doesn't mean I'll buy again. And if you're not addressing the afterthought of what happens after I buy, are you still relating to me? Are you still building a relationship with me? Are you sharing insightful content or inspiring me to continue to buy from you? This is how you imagine how you utilize your personas as a whole. At every stage of your conversion stage, your funnel, you should be able to understand that content creation comes at every stage, and it should come differently because it addresses different questions, different types of contents, and different answers and issues that your customers may have. So that's one thing you need to note for sure. And not all purchasing journeys are made the same. You also need to understand that. So for some of us, it's B2B. For others, it's B2C. Now, it's very different because the types of content we create will differ, because B2B and B2C, they don't respond the same way. They're not thinking, because B2B ticket items are much bigger. And also the goal of the business in the end is totally different. So you need to understand that, say, for example, in B2C, you search for information at the awareness stage. This is the buyer's journey. They'll learn about the product, so they're expressing interest. They read reviews and compare, and then they learn about the product. So they may have intent of like getting it. And then they review the shopping cart, if it's in e-commerce store like Shopee, and then they complete the checkout, and that's it, right? So the purchasing journey differs compared to, say, B2B, because B2B, they do their research. They may look for product and review or get references. They'll share this with their bosses or their stakeholders and find out whether this is a relevant product or service for their business. And then they want to see a demo. You don't have to do that for B2C. And then they review the contract proposal, because there's always going to be contract in B2Bs. And then the sale transaction is complete. Now, this is a very simplified version of what the buyer's journey may look like when it comes to awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and buy. It's slightly different from the previous one because that one was more, or rather a very general sense. This is a little bit more detailed towards the differences between B2B and B2C. But essentially what you need to understand is we all go through different stages, and not all buyers' journeys are made the same, okay? And we'll revisit this later on when it comes to creation content, what kinds of content go between these different stages. But here's the thing, right? Where does one post good content? Like, this all depends on where your audience is browsing. And as you guys have done earlier for some of the homework, was to find out what channels they browse. Some people say Facebook, some people say TikTok, others say Instagram. So let's have a look at Malaysia, just as an example. So based on this insights by We Are Social and Hootsuite, what we know so far is internet users between the age of 16 to 64 in Malaysia specifically are YouTube, WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp are discarding, but they are huge WhatsApp users. But they use YouTube, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram as their main thing, and Facebook Messenger. Other platforms like Twitter, WeChat, Telegram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and all that, they're still important, but mainly when we talk about specifically social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I'm not including WhatsApp because that's more of a messenger channel, are really the main channels that people communicate on social, or rather they share content on social media. So I reckon like for YouTube, it's like a specific target audience. And if you notice, it's 16 to 64, so it's not segmented, but it's really interesting to hear some of your insights because obviously it depends on the age group overall, but in this case it's overall. And YouTube seems to be the top for Malaysians. Facebook and Instagram, I think based on you guys' answers earlier, it already proved as such. So it's a very interesting observation that this study was done in January and it still applies today, hasn't shifted that far off overall. And on the other end of the spectrum, what kind of online activities that people in Malaysia are doing is a lot of people actually do watch videos on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying that you have to get on YouTube, but you need to understand the context of what they're doing on YouTube, right? Maybe they're watching tutorials, maybe they're watching travel destinations, maybe they're watching how to do gardening. Who knows what they're doing? But if your audience happens to be the video content consumer type, you need to ask yourself, like, what kind of video content am I creating for my channel? Is it relevant? Should I be doing that? Because clearly Malaysians like watching videos. So should that be something in your strategy? Or maybe not video creation, but video slides? So it all depends on your resources as well. And that's a tough one, right? Videos are good for sure, but I wouldn't recommend you creating videos just for the sake of creating videos. Create videos because you know that you've created a piece of content that resonates with them. And then the other thing that apparently Malaysians like to do is to, first of all, they like to listen to music. So like stuff like Spotify or like YouTube music, that's where they mainly listen to. Could you create content resonating to music? You could if it's relevant to the age group. But again, remember, this is 16 to 64. It's a very vast, reach of audience. And some of us are not even playing in that route. So you've got to take a look at this and decide, does it resonate fully? Maybe some of this does and some of it doesn't. But I want to share with you this because I want you to understand the general sense. The other thing that they're interested in is vlogs. So apparently people like watching vlogs about different people, like influencers. So this is an opportunity for you to think, okay, if Malaysians like watching vlogs, should I be engaging in an influencer that talks about their life? Because clearly the way they do is they relate to people's lives. So maybe I need to create some kind of social proof content strategy that has a relation to people that are resonating with my target audience. And then the other thing, surprise, surprise, is radio stations. See, the power of radio stations, people underestimate that, but surprisingly, people are still listening to radios in Malaysia. So I don't know if your audience specifically does, but it is an option. And then something that's up and coming is podcasts. I would say this is a very niche market, but then it is up and coming for certain age groups. So I would definitely explore that, but I wouldn't prioritize that if I don't have the time or resources to create podcast content. So don't think you need to just because it's there, yeah? Okay, so, but what makes good content good? That's the thing, right? I gave you all these options. I gave you the channels that I know is working for Malaysian market. But that doesn't mean that, it's going to be good content just because just because it's there, like what they like. So what drives people to say, yes, I love this? Let's explore. So first thing you need to know is good content comes with purpose, knowledge, and personality. So purpose is very important because I don't want you to create a content strategy that has like you're just posting for the sake of posting. You shouldn't be posting for the sake of posting, by the way. And so it's easy to overlook this, but you need to know your why of what you're trying to say. Like it shouldn't just be I just want to post something. So understand your why before you create your content. And sometimes people ask, so does that mean I don't need to post every day? And I'm going to answer, yes, you don't need to post every day, guys. Like that's like a myth, if I may. Like it's not necessary to post every day, but what's better is you post content that resonates with your audience. It really is about that at this point in time. In fact, like platforms like Instagram, they talk about it. You don't need to post every day. There are stats out there that show that it doesn't really increase your engagement. If at all, say for Instagram, what increases engagement is if you try the different kinds of content channels they have. Now they have Reels, they have Stories, they have IGTV, they have IG Live, they have posts. So all these different content creation methods on the social media platform is much more sustainable for you to explore, to create maybe once a month. For like say Reels, you don't have time to create so many, create 1 or 2 a month. But say for posts and feed, you create like 2 or 3. But every week you post. It's just that don't post. You don't need to post every day if you don't have the resources for it. Yeah, but remember, post with purpose. Now the other thing that is important is knowledge. So like, again, going back to how well do you know your target audience habits, right? Can you create some informational insights for them? And as I mentioned, defining it, the more you define it, the better. So really, really dig into that. And finally, personality. So what does your relationship on the voice sound like? Are you enthusiastic? Are you monotone? Are you, cool and trendy? Like, I would love to see the personality in your voice when I read a social media, when I visit a social media profile. Because when you create content that has zero personality, how memorable are you going to be? That's what I'll ask you. Like, how can you be memorable if your content voice is not defined? And that's why personality in your content strategy is very important. And we'll dig into that right after this. But let's go and get some examples first before we jump into it. So are you ready for the answer to good content? Let's begin. So it all begins with your brand voice. So a brand voice is not just defined by you as a representative of a brand. It's also about the brand vision and, more importantly, your customers and their vision. So when I mean that, like what I mean by that is like, you can't just have a social media voice that is about you. It should also be something that they think about, like they resonate with. Again, bias persona. So the who, the where, the what, the why, the when, this is all fundamentals. Like, who are you as a brand, and as well as your audience? Where does your target audience dwell? Again, it might not be Facebook, it might be TikTok, but you got to know where they are. What are you trying to say? I already relayed that message. Make sure that purpose is there. Why are you publishing it? Is this a promotional post? Is this an inspirational post? Ask yourself when you start to create content for them. When are you publishing it? You got to know when they're most active on social media. If they are a nurse, they work late night shifts, do you think it makes sense to post at night? Maybe not. Or maybe they do work during the day, they're at home, so maybe posting during the day in the early mornings when they get home or when they're on the public transport might work. We don't know. We have to see depending on the audience, right? And you need to understand that how you want to come across is very important. So your brand is on the left side, imagine that, and there's a bridge, right? And the audience is on the other side. So your message, it needs to bridge seamlessly, right? It shouldn't be like not bridged, basically. And why should you care about getting your tone and voice right? Well, it's because it humanizes the brand and lets you take part in the conversations naturally. And people want connection and not just information. And it really helps your audience connect with you in a more relatable way, like endearing. And a social media marketing voice can lead others to do the marketing for you. So how many times have you seen, I mean, maybe not, maybe you don't resonate with it, but sometimes people see like really cool stories and they share it with their friends, right? And they'll be like, oh, did you check this out by this brand, you know, whatever the brand is, and they do the marketing for you. They're sharing your content. And so that's something like, if you're coming from a very authentic place and you came with purpose with your content, there's a very likelihood your content can be very shareable. And that's digging again back to your personas, trying to understand like K-pop content. Would that be shareable? You know, if they like K-pop, I'm sure it would be. Having different voices and tones can be very confusing. So it's very important that your voice and tone is not confusing in order for your audience to really get who you are. And most importantly, getting traffic is nice, but conversations with audience is even nicer. And you have to remember, right? Like defining your voice by character, tone, language, and purpose is very important. And we'll go through this activity. Like you need to know, what does your brand sound like? If you picture your brand as a person or a character, who would it be? Is it a female? Is it a male? How would she be? Is she friendly? Is she authoritarian or authoritative? Or is she, you know, bubbly, enthusiastic? And what's the vibe? Am I being very personable, friendly, and you know, I'm humorous? Am I like that? Language. What kind of words do you want to use? Do I use slangs? Do I use emojis? Do I speak Malay and English combined? Do I know? Do I have like certain languages that I insert every now and then? I don't know. It's up to you. It depends on your product. Your purpose, again, going back to objectives, always remember that every brand voice should have these things, right? But remember, like voice and tone is same but different. So your voice or your brand personality or style is described in an adjective. For instance, brands can be lively, positive, cynical, or professional, but your tone is a subset. So it adds flavor to your voice based on factors like audience situation and channel. Like in short, it's your attitude lah. You know, you need to have like the zazz, right, in the attitude. So I might be say professional, but I'm clearly you know, bubbly at the same time, or I'm enthusiastic. So I have a very sort of like bright tone when I speak to someone. And these are kind of like the examples of what's your brand's character personality. So you could be passionate, sophisticated, snarky, friendly, flirty, uplifting, authentic, quirky, authoritative, bossy. These are all different examples that I would like you to start thinking of later on. For example, like in Wave Makers, we are smart but not snobbish. We're informative but we're not irritating. We're motivating but we're not belittling. We're cool, we're not hipster. So these are all the different examples. So think about yours and what you are and what you're not, right? And the most important thing is the 3 C's of brand voice: the culture, the community, the conversation. So again, like always have the impact of knowing that where you are in Malaysia, for example, how does our culture apply when we converse? Are we culturally aware about how we speak to our audience? And also the community. So understanding, like, I think Penang or say KL, different communities, you know, so understand how your community speaks and how you can speak to them easily is very important. And then of course, conversation, the personality aspect. Really think about the authenticity here and how you generate conversations from there. Now let us explore what other brands have done. So this is the fun part, right? Like, you know that you need personality, you need character, you need voice and tone, all these different examples. But what exactly is an example of good content? So let's take a look at what other brands have done. So in the context of spontaneous people, this is a very good example on the brands that I found, and I'm sure you can start to now identify it based on what I've taught you. To notice that, and Okay, but bear in mind that some of these people don't know like that they're doing this, but they're doing it. But here's an example. Curve Official. She's like, be sun-kissed, be happy, hashtag Curvy's heart. Have you decided which one is your favorite? Drop in the comment section if you want us to spill the date. Spill the date, right? Okay, so people are like responding, la la la. And what you need to understand is that spontaneous content are always trying to hook people to like drop like an emoji or a comment to give engagement to their social media channel. So they know that spontaneous people don't usually like want to write so much because they're not really like, you know, willing to respond a lot. So they just say drop a sun emoji if you want to spill the date. And what that is just to get more engagement. So drop an emoji and do that. And the way they did it was very short and succinct caption. And they use like like I said, a hook, like an emoji star to respond. So it's short and easy, but they're trying to pull the audience, right? And then on the other side of the spectrum, same thing like Mariah Carey. This is her cookie brand and it's called Mariah's Cookies. She wrote, roses are red, violets are blue. Mimi loves our red velvet cookies and so will you. Spread the love this Valentine's Day with Mariah's Cookies. So why is this a spontaneous content? Well, first of all, look at the colors that they chose for the cookies, right? They picked a red one, like really stand out. So it's a bright color. Of course, obviously you look into the content. And then on top of that, it's very short and succinct, as I mentioned, and it even rhymes. And it's got emojis and it's very like quick and easy way to express that you are meant to purchase the cookies for Valentine's Day. So it's very spontaneous driven because of the fact that it's also got movement in the fact that she's dunking it. So spontaneous people get attracted with all these kind of like, whoa, like you need me to do something really quick? Okay, this is something that I'll do. And that appealing image, like the color red with the dunking of the milk, and the emoji friendliness and all that, it just gives this appeal of like, yes, I'm going to do something. Maybe like the photo, maybe comment, maybe retweet, maybe even buy cookies. But the whole idea is this kind of content is for spontaneous audience. Now, another example I would say is from Tudong People. These are Malaysian brands, by the way. Tudong People, you know, they want to appeal to the spontaneous, but they also want to give information. So it's almost like a methodical, spontaneous content that they're trying to pull, which is a simple, easy style fit for a beginner's shawl like Hawa. It's a 1-minute video of them showing how to put on this hijab. And that's amazing because in the end, spontaneous people are like, oh, macam nak beli shawl ni. I was waiting for the other side. More tutorial, please. So there are people who are really interested in this content because it's short, it's easy, it's fun, it's got like short caption and like nice picture as well. Simple, you know. So spontaneous people will appeal to these kind of content. But you know what? I think methodicals would like it too. But I'll show you an example of methodical shortly. On the other side, you see Cha-Cha Life. Cha-Cha Life is a kombucha brand and they are showing movement. I told you earlier that when it comes to content for spontaneous, movement really excites them. So this one is like, they're throwing the bottle at this guy in the swimming pool and the color is so bright as well, right? And they're like using exclamation marks. Hey there, I'm thirsty. More emojis. Pass me a cha-cha, please. And what's better than a delicious gut-loving and enzymatic, naturally fizzy drink to give your body the mood to relax? So it's very appealing because they're making it seem like, oh, if I get that cha-cha life while I'm in the swimming pool, it's going to make me relax 100%. And so for the spontaneous, it's very bright and it just attracts them. So they built this not necessarily knowing that about spontaneous as a content direction, but as an analyst of marketing content, I can tell you that this will appeal to a spontaneous character, for example. So yeah, that's the spontaneous examples. Remember, short but succinct captions, could have emojis, something exclusive or giveaways or urgency. That's kind of how spontaneous people respond. Short and easy. Okay, now we go to the methodicals. So methodicals are a lot more detail oriented. Like I'm sure you guys noticed already what's the difference between spontaneous and methodicals. First and foremost, you can see on the left, look at the caption length. so long compared to, say, spontaneous, right? And then there's like tons of tagging, like the women at Somali Association of Mai begins doing their journey making these simple DIY scrunchies. All is required is of them, da, 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 da. Very long caption to tell the story. And on top of that, in her video, she is actually writing step 1, step 2, step 3. Now remember, Tudong people, they were doing a tutorial as well, but they didn't write piece by piece what you need to do. And that's because Nash Potatoes DIY perhaps wants to appeal more to the methodicals, or she herself is a methodical, therefore she feels that she needs to create content in this way. But in the end, what you understand is that her content is built to appeal to methodicals with the long captions, the step-by-step numbers, like all that is really a methodical driven content strategy. It's the same for My Burger Lab. Now, this is just one piece of post of My Burger Lab. And I know for a fact they have multiple ranges of caption lengths and styles of imagery. And that's kind of how you should actually create your content plan as well. It shouldn't just be driven for one. But I'm giving you this example because I want you to understand that even My Burger Lab, it's a restaurant. Like, how can they appeal to a methodical? Well, there you go. They talk about the fact that of their ingredients. Like, they don't have to share that. But they do, right? They have like caramelized onions, pickles, red sauce, onion, like so many things. So the methodical who's like curious to know what's in the food, well, they have the answers. They're right there. And in fact, with the captions, they're like, this baby might as well be a meal because when we say loaded, we mean it. A large portion of our classic awesome fries from Simple Lot Foods, fried to perfection and topped with our own cheese sauce, paired with an onion mustard, grilled patty, or like, it's long. It's all long. Why? Because they feel like methodicals will appreciate the details in our recipe, and we need to let them know, right? So that is why they would create content this long. So that's really important to notice about methodicals. Another slot of examples is on the left, you see Janda Baik Goat Farm. Now, their caption isn't as long as, say, the ones that we previously saw, but they do give benefits, right? So, and they don't give just one, they give like 5. So methodicals appreciate point by point reasoning as to why they need to endorse in your particular product or service. So this is a very simplified way of doing it, but it's effective. So Janda Baik Goat Farm, why should you consume fresh goat's milk, especially in Ramadan? They have a complete meal in itself, packed full of probiotics, good for the digestive tract, contains vitamin B5, helps the body produce energy, reduce tiredness and fatigue, and sunnah. Even they managed to add that in. Like, a methodical would appreciate that this person spent some time to actually write all the different benefits of the drinking goat's milk. Of course, they could have also expanded further, but in this case, they also wanted to make sure that they didn't overdo it by making the captions too long. And this is an effective way of writing it. It still gives the information. So I consider this a methodical type of content. In fact, the video is showing as well, like how they utilize the drink. So it's a good way of showing content for methodicals. The second one is Uniqlo. So Uniqlo, while their captions are not super long, it's long enough, but what's interesting is the visual imagery that they did. Now, you know that Tudong people created a 1-minute video, but Uniqlo went on a route for methodicals to literally go on a step-by-step. Like, there's 8 steps to style. In fact, they give 2 ways to style these hijab in 8 steps. So you literally, as a methodical, would appreciate this because you're seeing the step-by-step, how to fold, how to put like that. So it really is very important because they know that methodicals would appreciate this content and literally use it for their own selves. And that's what Uniqlo was trying to do. On the other end of the spectrum, this coaching business by Liana Lumark, she doesn't write a long caption, but she has 4 images with 10 steps to start a meditation practice. Not 1, not 2, but 10, okay? And methodicals would love that because it feels like they're learning more. They're getting more insights, and that's very important for methodicals as a whole. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, humanists are way more human driven. I mean, as you can see, look at the photos, they're all pictures of people, right? And I love the way IKEA has done their content strategy for their Eftertrada limited edition clothes. The imagery they selected, as you can see, is inclusive of all kinds of humans, right? It's the makcik and the budak kecil, and then the girl, the stylo girl in the city, right? And this imagery that they're showing here is really to say that this t-shirt can be worn by everyone. So it's really good to know, right? That's there. Oh, 1 second, Zurin, you have a question. Give me a moment. Can I finish this humanist part and then I'll go to you? So yeah, on the other end, there's Lazada, who's more like showing the acts of kindness that they're doing. And that usually appeals to humanists because humanists appreciate that you're supporting communities, right? And in this case, Lazada uses this opportunity to create content to show the humanists that they have a humanist element in them. And so they use that. It's the same for the Body Shop. This is the Body Shop Indonesia. They had a International Women's Day event where they invited many women and they talked about a certain issue. And yeah, it's very community driven, similar to like Lazada. So what you need to understand when it comes to humanists in this aspect is just that humanists value that you show different ways of how you interact with the community as a whole and people in general. So yeah, where's the question just now? I believe was from Zurin? Question?
Hi, Nadzirah. Hey, Sabine here.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I'm a humanist. So I just wanted to ask. Firstly, I want to say that I really, really genuinely love all your sharing and also your slide decks. I kept the last one, the session that I attended. I think the wave branding, your establishments, and I like how detailed and creative your slides are. So I just want to ask, is it possible to get it for this customer persona, if I'm not wrong? Is this a customer behavior or persona for today's?
Yeah, today's slide, of course. Today's slide will be available for all attendees today. So you will definitely get it. Don't worry about that.
All right, thank you. I'm so glad. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, so yes, thank you for that. Thank you for the compliment, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Okay, moving forward, here's another humanist example. So I wanted to show this because I also know that sometimes like you can't do like amal jariyah, or rather charity work, all the time, and therefore you can't be posting those content all the time. I mean, I don't think Lazada posts that all the time either, right? So what else can you show aside from that? Well, you can show pictures of your team. So It's My Base, which is an Indonesian brand. They are a skincare brand, but look, they're showing pictures of their team members. So they're like saying like, it's like Monday, but like, our team is happy. So let's start the week with a big smile. And, it's very short, but it's happy, it's people centric. And so whatever you imagine when it comes to humanist content, just think of the people, add photos of people in your content strategy, and that will appeal to the humanists as a whole, and that they're happy, right? Because that shows that you're engaging with humans in general. On the other end, now the Vegetable Co, they're vegetable providers in containers, and in this case they are sharing the story of their team as well, but more so in what she does on a day-to-day. So as a content strategy, it doesn't necessarily just have to be so general of like people's day-to-day, like how It's My Base does it. It can be like Vegetable Co, where she's telling the story that she's the resident, Jean is the resident people person at the Vegetable Co, and she does the comms and external parties regarding the brand. So she's the brand person, and her daily task, she even tells you that. So almost like this is almost like a humanist methodical content strategy, writing a long story about who this person is, as well as having a humanist photo. So it's double appeal. Do you notice that? Like, in fact, like on the left, like It's My Base could be a humanist spontaneous content strategy, whereby look at the emojis, the shortness, the funness, bright colors, and the pictures of the people. If you notice that from our previous content, you'll start to notice that when you create content, the more you appeal to in one go, the better. But in my opinion, best practices, always remember the purpose first. Don't just try to appeal to either the spontaneous whatever, but more on like, what's the purpose of your content and how this will appeal to the different people, personas, and stuff like that. Okay, so this is another one that you can think of. All right, finally, competitives. So the competitives were all about the logos, right? Like what media were you featured in, what brands do you collaborate with, what influencers do you work with. So in this case, Cha-Cha Life, the kombucha brand, they are so excited because they are collaborating with FNN Life. And they're basically creating a six-pack product with Cha-Cha Life. So if you're thinking like, man, I can't collaborate with FNN. I'm not that I'm not that big, you know. It's okay, guys, because Cha-Cha Life used to be small too, and they grew. And the point is, as they grew, they created collaborations with brands they knew that would elevate them further. So, assuming that you have collaboration as a marketing strategy in your mind, revealing that you've collaborated with different brands, even though they're smaller, but they're more prominent than you, is very important for content strategy, for competitives. That way you show credibility, you make people feel like you're resonating with them, and just really showing that, you know, you're a brand that keeps elevating yourself. So that's one angle to do it. Another way to do it is how Cultivate does it. They're also another agricultural type company, but if you notice, they have MyGap logo there. They don't need to tell people that they're certified by MyGap, but they do. Why? Because they know that as an agriculture company, certifications matter. They want to see like how you do your best practices in agriculture. So if you are trying to appeal to the competitive, your certifications are very important as well. So brands you associate with, if you collaborate, your certification. So like, you know, I don't know what kinds of companies you have, but anything that shows that you're credible will definitely drive that further, right? Like if your service you've provided, you worked with brands like Nike, for example, make sure you tell people, because competitors would care about that. Or if you've been featured in the media, you can put as seen on, I don't know, The Star, or as seen on NST, or whatever media titles that you were working with. So definitely think about that when you do your content strategy. Another way to appeal to the competitive when it comes to social media is also like how Uniqlo has done it. You see, they know that their audience personas are very young, like much younger. They're about 18 to 24 mainly. And so they know that, say, the kinds of interests that those age groups may have would be more towards things like brands that are sort of nostalgic to the world of Pixar. So they created these limited edition t-shirts that are dedicated to the world of Pixar, knowing that these movies are huge movies for them in that generation. So again, of course, you can't collaborate with Pixar per se, or maybe one day you will, but you need to understand that as far as you're concerned, when it comes to creation of product or service, collaborations with other brands is definitely one way to grow your brand presence as a whole as well when it comes to creating content. Plus, if you reach the right brand and you know that your audience also resonates with that brand, you're actually creating sort of like a synergy of showing that it's a lifestyle, that you're embracing Uniqlo with Pixar. People who buy Pixar or rather watch Pixar movies wear Uniqlo. You see the connection there? That's very important. On the other end of the spectrum, like Fashion Valet uses the opportunity to take their Instagram channel in IGTV and create interviews with influential people like Irene Omar from AirAsia, because probably they did their research and they were like, oh, people who people who actually buy from Fashion Valet are huge resonators of AirAsia brand, as well as someone like Irene Omar. So we want to feature her in our social media channel as an interview so that people know that we associate with them. And then for IKEA, for example, they did the same thing as Uniqlo. They collaborated with Maggie. You think that's for fun? Definitely not. And in fact, like the thing is, it's interesting because it's also a giveaway. So it's also for the spontaneous to take action. But the collaboration shows that they collaborate with really good brands, as well as they're going to give a giveaway. So there's many ways that you can do collaborations. You could do giveaways, you could create products together, but that association creates content. So that's something you need to think about. Yes, Zurin, another question?
Yeah, Nadzirah, actually, is it okay to ask question or I can wait until the end of your session? No
Uh,
worries also.
I mean, is it relevant directly to this, or you have a general question?
I actually have more of a relating to these questions, but maybe I'll wait till the end. I don't want to, yeah, you go ahead and share.
All right, no problem, no problem. Okay, cool. So the thing is, now that we've created content examples, we've seen that you need to have the character, tone of voice, the language and purpose, and you've seen the examples. The most important thing right now is actually for you guys to do the practice of how they define the voice, right? You saw earlier, some of them were enthusiastic, they had emojis, some of them had long captions and very detailed, So you have to ask yourself, how do I want to sound like compared to these brands? And so this is where the activity comes back. You should have in your workbook the brand identity worksheet section, where I would like you to summarize the voice and tone that defines your brand. Now, I've given some examples here, and I don't expect you to use the exact same one. I think every brand would be different, but define your character and voice. What does your brand sound like? If you picture your brand as a person, who is she? Who is he? Who are they? Or, I don't know if it speaks as a they or him or her, but imagine it. The tone. So what's the general vibe of you, Like, are you chirpy? Are you enthusiastic? Think about it, And then, of course, summarize the language as well. Like, what are you going to speak? Are you speaking English or Malay mix? Are you speaking English only? Speaking Cantonese, Mandarin? I don't know. Do you have emojis, or are you slangy? Like, think about it. And then what's your purpose? Like, why are you posting on social media? Are you doing empowerment and inspiration to drive action? Like, what exactly are your intentions overall? Think about it, and then answer this too. What we are versus what we're not. So you have that section as well. Are you uplifting but not sentimental, or funny but not slapstick, innovative but not over the top? Have a think about that. And again, there's a lot of, this is a lot of activities in one section, but just remember, I just want you to practice the art of understanding that you need to define this. You don't have to complete it all. But yeah, take a good look at it, and it's in your workbook. And I'm giving you, how many minutes am I going to give you? I will give you 10 minutes. So 11:22 to complete this section. And then we will go into reading it together, or rather reviewing it together. So you guys have 10 minutes, 11:22. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now. All good? I hope so.
Nadzirah, can I ask the question now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in regards to the different type of was that like a customer avatar or customer persona behavior?
Which one?
The humanistic,
It's a bias persona.
Okay, so the buyer persona, I want to ask, like, for social media posting, we have like schedules different day, like maybe on Tuesday we do engagement, Wednesday we do like selling and things like that. So I just want to ask, like, in regards to the customer buyer persona, like, do we need to have like a schedule on like how do we target different aspects of audience different days, or how does it work for that?
So as I mentioned earlier, it can be a combination of content. You don't have to plan it in such a way like, oh, today is spontaneous, tomorrow methodical, tomorrow this. If you notice the content examples that I provided you, some of them directly appeal to different people at different times. So for example, even this one, right, this competitive content, certified Malaysian good agriculture practices, if you dissect the content, there's a picture of a human, therefore it's humanist related. There's the certification, shows the certification for the competitives, and the storytelling is very methodical driven because it's quite long on in terms of the caption. The only audience they're not maybe appealing to is the spontaneous. Now this is why when you look into your bias persona, first and foremost, as you define your audiences in your bias personas, you can then start to gauge how many % of them are actually spontaneous or spontaneous methodical. Like you start to create ratios, and then only you understand like the content strategy should be steered more towards humanist methodicals or humanist spontaneous or humanist competitive. Like it depends. So you need to, what I would ask you to do is to reflect on your audit on your current content strategy, look at the most engaging posts that you existingly have, and ask yourself like what in your content, take a screenshot of it like this, right, and dissect and say, okay, does it have the elements of appealing to humanists and methodicals, or is it for competitives and spontaneous? Ask yourself, like, now that you know this framework, all your content overall, what is it appealing to? And then it kind of gives you an idea that your followers or your engagement is more driven, or content creation is driven more towards what kind of audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, because honestly, like for myself, I've had tried methodological, and I find that the engagement is kind of like less. But then when I realized the highest, when you asked me that question, I thought to myself, most of the posts that has highest engagement is back to the humanistic side. So I understand where you're coming from. Maybe just choose 2 or 3 that my majority of my audience are based on that buyer behavior.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank
Unless you have the intention that you want to build more competitive balance of audience, then you know that the key elements that you need to put in place are like relevant influencers, the logos that show your credibility, maybe media features. That's what you want to think about to add on to your content strategy. But how often can you do that, right? So it's really something that you just have to realize, like, it doesn't matter if you don't appeal to all personas. What you need to know is you appeal to most of the audience that you work with, because in the end, like, you only one person, or rather if your team is not big, how much can you do in creation of content? But you should serve at least the majority if you cannot serve all. Like brands like Uniqlo, IKEA, they can afford to invest in content creation for bigger amounts of audience. That's why you'll see like Uniqlo had multiple strategies because they can afford it, you know. So in your case, it's not to say that you can't afford it, it's more to say that work with what you have right now in your resources, and eventually strategize when you're ready to move to the next stage of content creation for more audiences or different kinds of audiences. So yeah, hope that helps. Guys, you have about 5 more minutes. I hope I wasn't distracting you, but please try to complete this activity, and I would like to hear from some of you to share what your tone of voice you think you sound like, your, you know, your language, your purpose, what you are versus what you're not. Yeah, someone's asking me a question. Karen, does the content always need to maintain same topic or industry that I am expert in or good in to be the post in social media? Or can I share different topic industry that I find interesting that people may be interested or knowledge sharing? Well, of course you can share other things in you know, content. It doesn't have to be about your industry. So just because say you're in the F&B industry, it doesn't mean that you know, you can't talk about what style you like in fashion. But then you have to understand, it's not about you, it's about the audience. Does your audience really need to hear about fashion in a food channel? Most times people follow food brands because they're foodies and they like food. Unless you can find a creative way of showing how this girl is dressing fashionably while eating a burger, maybe that might work. But you just have to understand that you can cross topics in your content strategy, but you just need to understand that it needs to resonate with your audience. Again, like for example, just because your audience likes K-pop, but your product doesn't necessarily jive, like the content strategy doesn't jive with K-pop, doesn't mean that you can use it. You need to find that like recipe of like, is K-pop with insurance the right way forward? Would you talk about K-pop and insurance? Is that something that you could do? Or say, like, if you notice, Lazada uses K-pop stars to endorse in their website, or Shopee does it too. Do you think they do that for fun? No, they do it because they want to try and appeal to these kinds of audiences, because they know that, you know, K-pop is trending right now, and generally trending for maybe spontaneous and humanist. I don't know, but like, again, it's their research that they've done to understand the audience persona's interests. So yes, you can cross post, but make sure you know what they like first before you start, you know, crossing over to different topics. Two minutes, guys. I really hope some of you are doing the activity. Okay, it's 11:22. Has anybody managed to do any of the activities and want to try and share it with me? No? Oh, Karen's like saying, Karen says, because sometimes I had hobby would need to be shared different from the product I'm selling. Should I create different account? One is personal account, another is business account to share. So yes, I think so. I mean, unless you are the brand, meaning you are, say, a coach like Zurin. Zurin's a coach. Zurin is a brand herself. She's created an entity as herself as a brand. If your brand is called Karen's Cookies or something like that, then yes, you can sort of share what you like. But if you call your brand like myself, like Wavemakers, I don't share my personal life on Wavemakers. I share that on my social media channel. So I have my own personal brand that I built for myself, right? So you just have to understand, like, if your brand is named after you, you can share your personal brand, like personal self, if you want. But if it's not, then I wouldn't recommend it, just because it's a bit like weird for it to be in that route. Especially if you know that your audience doesn't necessarily resonate with it. So whatever you do on social media, again, remember, what you create is not for you, it's actually for the people that are going to see your product and service. So yeah. Anyone want to try this tone of voice? Hello? No? Everybody not doing it? Or did you need more time? So everybody's not done it, or either that having lunch while watching this workshop. No? Okay, no, but oh, Katie's saying more time. Okay, I'll give you guys 2 more minutes, okay? And then we'll go for it. 2 more minutes, guys. All right, 2 minutes is up. Anybody want to give it a go? Remember, guys, it's only a work in progress. It doesn't have to be all perfect. I just want to see if you practiced it and understood it, and if I can help you in any way to give you feedback while we're on this session. Yes, Azura? All right, Azura, you're a champ.
Just a quick try.
Mhm.
Okay, for this part, the brand identity, so for the character and voice, I guess because this is Malaysian IPTA diploma program, so I
Mhm.
think why don't we use a Malaysian character for those, like example like Abu, Siti or Ali, something that really related to Malaysian people.
Mhm.
Okay, so it can be male, it can be female, either one. So for the tone, so I need my student to be energetic, fast-paced, and like what we call hands-on driven.
Okay.
Okay, for the language, so I guess that English and Malay mix. So play along with some emojis because this program is actually offered in Malacca. So maybe I can use some Malacca slang. So at least to attract the audience. So the purpose here is actually to create engagement for potential students, especially the SPM leavers, to enroll the MC 111 program diploma.
Okay, cool. One quick feedback about the character. As you were saying, they're Malaysians. I think that's great because we want it to be universal, and I think you want it to be gender neutral. That's totally fine as well. But I would definitely explore what is the character or voice of what a Malaysian sounds like, because Malaysians are diverse. We are Chinese, we are Malay, we are Indian. So what kind of, I'm not saying that you have to specify that they're Melayu or Chinese or whatever, but like obviously there's one commonality of all Malaysians. We all like nasi lemak. So, but then what are we, foodies? Are we enthusiasts of culture? Like, are we tolerant?
Unfortunately, because this program is actually offered in UITM,
Yeah.
so it actually need to be a Bumi Putra people in Malaysia.
So there you go. That definitely, when you talk about that, you then need to understand, okay, the character is more Malay. Does it mean it's more conservative, or is it conservative open or open liberal? Like, I mean, it's better to kind of like get that aspect, because in the Malay community, there's many kinds of Malays. There's the liberal, there's the less liberal. So I would invite you to explore the majority of your audience.
Do I need to be precisely specific on that voice?
Yes, because because if you start speaking conservatively, in a way where it's more, more conservative, you're not going to attract the liberal, like the liberals of Malays necessarily. Like, not that you're not going to attract them, they might be a little bit like guarded because it's not their style of communication, right? But the way you speak, it sounds like you're way more liberal in that sense, right? Or moderate even with your personality. Therefore, perhaps you're not going to appeal to, say, conservatives. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to understand that you can't appeal to all Malaysians, essentially, when you communicate. It's not possible because there are different kinds of us in the Malay community as a whole. Does that make sense?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So in fact, like English speaking, for example, right? Some people, they're shy to speak English in full. So can we do it dual language and mix it up, right? Like you said, Malacca slang. That's cool, And so you just need to ask yourself, like, how much of it can I appeal to them if I make my voice like that, for example? Yeah. Good attempt. Really, really good. The rest of it is great, but just look into your character overall. Yeah? Thanks, Azira.
Thank you.
Okay, Katie has a question or statement. Okay, so Katie says, hi Nadzirah and other participants. I'm Katie Noraman. My best friend and I are currently running Scar's business and we are still new. I would like to share our brand's character is friendly and sophisticated. I'm not sure about the tone. We mainly speak English, sometimes in Malay. We mainly post on IG because we believe the features available on IG like Story, Reel, IG Live are the best to promote our scarves. We post tutorials and pictures of our friends wearing scarves to attract our potential customers. Well, that works. I guess I would explore the tone more, right? Like, so you say that you're friendly and sophisticated. That's your character. You guys dress like, you know, super sophisticated and you're approachable. When it comes to tone, ask yourself, are you like enthusiastic, or when you respond or when you share, do you use like emojis? Like you saw Tudong people, they use emojis. And then think about like the language. You mentioned Malay, English, that's good. The purpose, what are you using? You said, oh, because promote your scarves. So I think the purpose that you are posting is already good, but I think what you need to ask yourself is how else are you really engaging? And this goes back to, I think it was Zurin's question earlier about engagement. Go and review your current content, like look at your last 12 posts, which ones are the most engaging, and read through the captions that you wrote, read through the responses if there are any. Like, engagement is very important for you to understand. And if the tone of voice that you shared in that brought highest engagement, then that's your tone of voice. Ask yourself, like, what do I sound like here? And if you want, you can share your IG later to me, and then I can support you in having a look. But yeah, feel free to drop me your IG link later and I can take a look at that as well. All right, cool. Anybody else want to try? No? No one else willing to try? Okay, if you're not willing to try, we can jump to the next section. Okay, it's a hard activity, and I definitely know this takes time because you really have to think about it. But my tip to you, like I said to Caddy, is really to review your existing social media content if you have a business, or even if you want to do it for your personal brand, and just try to read through the captions. And now that you know what's the difference between a humanist, methodical, spontaneous, competitive, ask yourself, when you write this, who were you writing to actually? What was it appealing to? And did it get the kind of engagement that you wanted? And then take it from there when you want to re-strategize your content. Because in the end, when you look at your content and you see something that you thought would be the right way of communicating, and the purpose was something else, when in reality it didn't come out that way, it's usually because you were not thinking about the audience in mind. So now that you have the tools, you can actually look back at your content and be like, who was I trying to talk to? You know what I mean? And ask yourself that question. All right. So, and that being said, right, when it comes to creating content, writing for them in that voice that you want to, with the right emojis or the wrong, no emojis, you want to be chirpy or not personality, whatever personality you want to try and create for your voice, in the end, it's the core topics and themes that are going to drive the engagement, are going to get people interested. And you've seen different examples already of like different brands, what kind of content they post, and you know, even try to promote their unique selling points, like the burger from Burger Lab. They sold it really hard to you. So you just imagine that, how are you building your content pillars? First of all, you need to understand though, like there are different kinds of content that will work best for your audience. As you know, we've gone through the B2B, B2C funnel stages and understand that it differs. But on the right side here, I just want you to take a look at the top of the funnel, which is at brand awareness stage, AKA nobody knows you, they've never heard of you, and now you need to talk about your brand. Think of it as being broad, shareable, highly visual, that inspires. So for example, like, could you do a blog post or an infographic or curate a list, like list of things, you know, like social media posts that, you know, are generally insightful in a sense where it's inspirational. And we'll talk about that shortly. But further down the line is middle stage content. This is people who already are following you on social media. They've heard of you, or they kind of like, they heard like your friend told you about it, you know. And at this point, the content quality needs to differ. It needs to be more high value, and destination specific, and even interactive. Like you could give them guides, like top 10 places to do something, or top 10 ways to wear your hijab, like how the tutorial was done from Uniqlo, right? They know that they're assuming that you already bought the product, and therefore it's kind of like maybe, or you're thinking of buying the product and you're just like, you need a tutorial on how to use the product just to get that validation. So these are like the videos, the guides, you know, the tutorials. This is where it comes to life in the interest and consideration state. And then when it goes to, say, at the point where they're about to buy, you could do your promotions. So you have to understand that promotions work when the person is a bit more educated to your product. So they're not just going to buy immediately. And it's not majority of us, unless you're spontaneous, you might just buy without knowing. But most of us will probably need some massaging before we decide that we want to buy the product, right? So the testimonials, the product comparisons, the case studies, trials, you know, all the different examples that you can give, or even promotion discounts. This is where you really push that to the customer. And then after they've purchased your product, you have the retention rate, where like after that, which is to really keep them engaged by giving them personalized recommendations, coupons that, you know, oh, you bought this product, you also get a $5 coupon because you bought this. Or you can post their UGCs, unique user-generated content. So user-generated content is like, say you get the product, you already bought it, and the customer posted it and tagged you. Post that and share it, you know, customer love, very important to put that on social media. So these are all the different kinds of contents that you can share or create. I mean, I'm giving you so many different ideas already that you should have in your mind that you can create at different stages of your buyer's persona. Now, remember, every buyer's persona goes through the funnel on the left. They might be at awareness stage, they might be at interest stage, consideration, or buy stage. We don't know, but you need to plan content around them, right? And these are the right stuff is the stuff that, the table on the right is really ideas that you can think of. And now, appealing to the types of content, when it comes to defining your content pillars, you have to imagine that there's the spontaneous, the competitive, the humanist, the methodical, right? They've got the emotional appeals, the quick decision, slow decision, logical. On your right side is a content matrix. So essentially, this content matrix is actually a way for you to brainstorm where your customer is at. So for example, on the far left, you see emotional at the top, rational at the bottom, and awareness and purchase stage. Now, what this essentially is essentially to show you how at the point of awareness, what can you do? Can you entertain and your audience, like for the spontaneous, right? The spontaneous love the fun stuff. So competitions, quizzes, branded videos maybe, or games. So branded videos might be for like the humanists actually, because they get to see, say, the team story, and you start, you know, you create a video of like your team exploring the product or showing the product. Games can be done by, Insta stories, whereby you tell them to find the product in this missing photo or whatever. Depends, again, it really depends on the product, but that's the entertaining part for awareness, to drive the emotional side, which would probably likely appeal to the more spontaneous and humanist audience. And then on the rational side, you're looking at education. So the methodicals and the competitives, infographics, statistics, and trend reports, press releases like media stories or whatever, blog articles. You say you written on your blog on your website and you want to share it on your social media page to say, we've written a blog, check it out. It's an education about why you need sambal in your life, you know. So it could be like that. But that's the awareness stage, right? So then you move further right. How do we do the inspirational part for the emotion? How do you drive purchase for people who are more emotional driven, aka spontaneous and humanist? Well, like celebrity and influencer endorsement definitely would work. In fact, that will also work for competitives as a whole. And then obviously like community forums, meaning sharing, like say you go on IG Live and you like chat with your audience and say you show the product. So for example, like Hattie, you guys go on IG Live and you guys can do your scarf promotions. That's a great idea. That's actually a purchase inspiration. So those are really good ideas, you know. And then reviews and ratings. Reviews and ratings are always important to push that person to purchase. I don't know how many times you've gone to Shopee and checked the reviews and you see whether or not this review is good and then decide to buy, right? So that's why most e-commerce stores have the review section, is because they want you to, it's a convincer for buying things. And it can work on social media too, where you show, when your customer tags you on social media, you should tell them to tag you on social media, and they show the product that they bought from you. That's also really helpful. And then finally, when it comes to the type of people that are more rational, convincing them through news, like newsletters, also helps. Now, I don't know if many of you are running an e-commerce store, but if you have an e-commerce store, you could utilize newsletters to actually push for sales. And actually, that is a very powerful way, because newsletters are technically free, because your database is already there and you have their emails, and you just keep blasting to them every month or every other week. And so for the rational people, all they want in a newsletter is things like, oh, check out these latest products that are great for the summer, or check out the latest color trends for hijabs for your business, or sorry, for your day-to-day, something like that. So the newsletters are really important for the rational types, because typically they're the ones who take time to consider information, but they want the information, because otherwise they don't remember you, they don't engage in you. So you have to think about that if you have an e-commerce store, especially. And also if you have a B2B, newsletters are good. I mean, a lot of people think that people don't read emails, but I do email marketing. I can tell you, good content includes email marketing. On top of that, checklists. People love checklists, like checklists of things you need before you have this. People love that. So if you're doing like travel, right? Sustainable travel, what does that mean? Can you give me a checklist of items I need in order for me to make sure I travel sustainably? That could be an idea, right? There are many ways to do this. And then like case studies. So case studies are like storytelling of your previous customers. Now, if your customers are comfortable with sharing their previous stories, please share them, like how the success story of how this girl's skin went from like this to this, like those kind of stories really do resonate with people. Like the brand that I mentioned earlier, It's My Base, is a skincare brand, and they have a ton of testimonials showing the previous, how the skin condition is, and the story of how they are now. And that's really actually convincing the buyer that these people are just like you, and they are using the product and doing well. So that is actually like for the logical side lah, like the competitive and the methodicals, right? Webinars, also another really good way. So in the case of, this is very B2B, if you are a B2B, webinars are really good to push as content creation, to not only do it on social media later on, but also for your general relationship building with your audience. And then price guides, so comparing your price with another competitor. So if you guys know your competitors, this is more a B2B type of product thing. I wouldn't do it for like B2C, but for B2B, showing price comparison definitely helps. It helps people understand like why they're investing in this big ticket item versus another one. So these are essentially what you're seeing here is, when you start to imagine your content pillar, the purpose of this is you got to think, am I entertaining? Am I educating? Am I inspiring? Am I convincing? And is this for awareness or purchase? Ask yourself that. Again, remember, look at your buyer's persona. What are they more of? Are they more spontaneous, competitive? So how does the matrix works in this sense? You need to ask yourself that. That being said, when you do create your content pillar, and this is not something you're going to do today, like right now, it's your homework actually, that I invite you to do. Imagine, are you doing education as a big topic, offers and promotions, or engagement? It all depends. But my tips to you when you create your content creation pillars is look into what your audience follows and likes on social media. So if you are already with followers on your social media channel, go to your followers thing and check their profile and see what other brands they're following. So check their followings. Or if you go on Facebook, you check their about and see, like, scroll down to see their likes and the groups they follow or whatever. Or if you're on LinkedIn, you just go to their profile and you go see all at the bottom, and then they'll show like companies, groups, and schools that they're into. This gives you a general idea of like what kind of content they're really into consuming. And that will help you also shape your content strategy and your pillars. Another thing you can look at is your competitors. So if you have no idea, you still like don't know, but you kind of know who your competitors are, go and look at their customers. Go and find out who their customers are, what they like, and how they interact with their customers. Because in the end, your product is not going to be the unique one, in a sense where I'm sure someone else sells sambal too, or travel products or tudong, but you need to know, like, okay, what are they doing to engage in their audience, and what do their audience typically like? Can I make myself stand out just as well as they have? So you definitely look into your competitors list and share what they share on social media. Another way to look at it is what your favorite brands are sharing on social media. So remember, someone was asking earlier, like, can I put other topics or brands in my content strategy? If your favorite brands are sharing something similar to your audience interests, absolutely, you can definitely do that. But it has to resonate. It cannot just be whatever, it cannot be your personal interest. It should be what they're interested in. I cannot stress on that more. But yeah, definitely think about that. Karen says, is it good practice that we always research on the topic which are popular or hot and post or share to get more traffic to post on our website? Yes, it's good practice for sure. And I'm giving you resources on how to do that shortly. But before I do that, I just want you to know that when it comes to your visual board, this is for Instagram specific, remember to have some kind of look and feel, and that whatever you do, it doesn't have to be super like pretty like this, but imagine that your images that you choose are resonating your personas and relevant to the topic in itself. And please use clear images, because nobody likes pixelated or blurry images, and pick images that suit the voice and tone of your caption. Remember that activity that we did earlier on the voice and tone, very, very important to match the visuals themselves. And again, this is your homework. Define the content pillars and your visual mood board. I want you to spend some time elaborating on that, and you can drop me an email to like ask me if you're on the right direction later on. But definitely do this as a homework. You have, I think in your workbook, you would have this, which is like the pillars. You don't have to fill all of them, but have an idea, right? So for example, like main pillar could be education, and you want to do like IG story, sharing how to use the products, or entertainment. What's in entertainment? Are you going to do some quizzes? Are you going to do trivia? Are you going to do polls? Depends on the platform themselves and the features, right? And then like your visual board should look something like this, where you take pictures from Pinterest or other IG profiles that you found inspirational, and you kind of just put it together, and on the right side you fill up the pillars that you're trying to incorporate the direction of content. So for example, like this content pillar is words or lifestyle inspiration, and so the pictures are like smile, sparkle, or shine, or inspiration picture of like travel, or more words, right? And then product education, so they got like the deep cleansing product photo, and then they've got the benefits of the product, and so on. And then at the bottom, community, stories of founders, buyers, and influencers. These are the visual guides that was created to really keep the humanist people interested in our content, because otherwise it's too product centric, right? So that's one way of creating the visual guide idea. But before that, or rather, but while you do that, this is actually bonus tips. So I think, while you're creating your content pillar, you can do there are plenty of places that you can do these research. So some of you mentioned earlier that you can't do graphic design. I don't know if you've tried Canva, but I think by now most people here would know Canva. But it's a free graphic design tool that allows you to find templates on how to do graphic design for your brand. I can click on this to just show you an example really quickly, because I got to go through multiple tools and I don't want to take too much of your time. But this is essentially Canva, and they have a free version. And they also have the paid version. The free version allows you to do many things still, but the paid version will allow you to do more, such as getting, say you want to create an Instagram post, right? Let's click on this. So we click on the Instagram post. It allows you to, this is the paid version. it has things like elements, right? And in elements, what this gives you is free icons, graphics that you can utilize for your social media channel. And they even give you like free videos. So if you want like stock videos, like for like, I don't know, like say sambal, right? You search sambal, this is what comes out. And you can actually maybe personally use this video, right? For your social media channel. Now, you might not want to use stock videos if you don't want to, but you can definitely get inspiration ideas, because in templates, they have all these templates here on the left where you don't even need to do the design anymore. It's already there and it's all editable from your computer, right? You can just edit it, whatever, blah, blah, so it's very, very easy to use. And if you haven't used Canva, like, I think it's time to get on it, okay? Yeah, so definitely think about that. Hang on one second. Oops. How do I get out of this? Oop. 1 second, sorry guys. Okay, going back to this, the other tool that I would say is Unsplash. So where can you find like stock photos, right? If you need stock photos, you could go to Unsplash. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but Unsplash is basically a tool that you can use to find really, really nice pictures. Say for like, I put just coaching, coaching. So what do you have? You have like inspirational images like this that you can utilize. It's not only a place for you to take the photos and use them on your social media channel. They're all free. You don't have to pay for it. But it's also a place for you to grasp visual ideas that you can use that are relevant to the keywords. So I don't know, like say like we see K-pop. Let's see what comes out with K-pop, right? See, someone has searched for it. So what comes out with K-pop? Oh, it's pictures like this. Okay, do you think it's relevant? Maybe yes, maybe no. So it's a great place to start for visual ideas. But you can also do that if you're using the paid Canva. Like they have way more images in there. But that's a paid version. There's also Free Pick, which is another version. And I'm not going to go show you another free stock photo, but at least you have an idea of where you can find stock photos. There's video. So if you're a video creator, like you want to do a lot of video content for your channel, one thing you need to know right now, most people have their phones on mute. And therefore, when they play the video, right, there's no sound that comes out. Video generates captions for your videos. So what it does is like, but it's paid actually, it's not free, but it allows you to create, you don't need to create the subtitles or the transcriptions, it already does it for you. And it's a really cool tool if you utilize a lot of video content. So in a sense where, if you want to write, like you want to create script and you created videos, but you don't have the tools or time to create captions or rather sentences yourself. Or if you did an interview with someone and you want to use their words as a caption, you can also use video to create transcriptions of text of that video, for example. And then there's Tuck Tools. This is a captions generator, like inspiration, not for like finalization. So like imagine like you don't have an idea, but you're looking for an idea. I wouldn't like fully just rely on this, but it's a great place to get sentence structures, right? So for example, your category is nature and friends. Let's generate what it will come out. So live in the sunshine, swim in the seas, drink the wild air. And it was a quote by Emerson. You can then maybe put nature or success, right? And let's see what comes out. Stop doubting yourself, work hard and make it happen. So these are just, again, don't utilize this as the final captions generator, but make sure you can use this as a reference to create caption ideas for yourself. So definitely take a look at that. And then we have Hashtagify for those of you who want to get into your hashtag game. Like it's a great place for you to find out what hashtags are trending in your topics. So this would be, whatever like hashtags you want, it will help you give you an idea of what is working and what isn't overall. And then we also have Pinterest. So for those of you looking for inspirational visual ideas, Pinterest has a ton of ways to find pictures. So like you just need to search at the top here what kind of imagery you want. In this case, this is my Pinterest, so it's curated to me. But say you want like, again, I'm going to use the sambal as an idea, right? Sambal ideas, right? So what sambal photography ideas, for example, comes out, you can see like, hang on, sambal photography ideas. So someone already put that, right? What does that look like? So you get inspiration. Oh, okay, I could put like photo like bottle like this. I could do it with background of chili. I could have it flat laid like this. So you start saving it and you collect these photos and you just create a content strategy around that. That could be something that you use. HubSpot is a great place, but it's also still a paid version, but it's a blog topic generator. So for those of you who are writing blogs, this is a really great place to like write about blog posts, or get topic ideas from blogs. So for example, your topic is climate change, just an example. Okay, let's just give me blog ideas. So it could be climate change, expectations versus reality, or climate will change the world. Will climate change ever rule the world? Or the next big thing in climate change. These are obviously just like very snippet version, but if you want more, there's the paid version for it as well. That's if you write blogs. And finally, if you want to know industry benchmarks, so these are for like people who want to know whether or not your engagement is of the level of that your industry is. This is where you can look at your competitors. So for example, let's have a look at say IKEA, right, versus Uniqlo. They're totally different industries. Okay, maybe not IKEA, let's do H&M. Hang on, where's H&M? So H&M versus Uniqlo. We can create a snapshot of who's performing better on Instagram. And guys, this is all free, yeah? So what it will give you then, oops, I have to check my email. But what it will give you is insights on which performance is doing better, like between the different competitors. So it's really, really helpful, especially if you're like trying to figure out whether or not this is the right, you're at the right status as them. So I'll give you a sample snapshot here by Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's. And they'll give you an insight on who's performing better, this one or this one. What's the top performing post? So it really is really good. Like I use Rival IQ as my analytics tool for my company, and the free tools are so good for people who need these insights. But yeah, so these are all the different ways that you can utilize content strategy creation and how to know how to create good content, where to drive what kind of design where you can do graphic design. It's all there. Like these resources should be very helpful for you to start crafting better content for your social media strategy. And to answer your question, IBV, yes, this deck is going to be shared. So you will get it after this. Right, let's go back to wrapping this up because we are at 11:59, just in time. So the takeaway of this session is effective content starts with knowing your brand and knowing your audience. Okay, so remember, it's all about knowing your brand and your audience. So that's why we went through the vision, mission, and values, the bias persona, the tone of voice. And your best strategy is to focus on content your audience likes to consume. Obviously, that's why I'm telling you guys to expand on their interests, know your competitors' audience interests as well, because it can be overlapped. Your brand style, when matched with your reader's style, makes for a winning combination. So again, you need to find that sweet spot of where your brand is supposed to sound based on your idea, but also to make sure it sounds like how your audience likes to receive information. Not all of us wants to receive information in caps lock. Some people want it to be small case. So, or I don't necessarily like too many emojis, but someone else might. So you have to imagine, like, what does your audience like in terms of reading the information that you distribute? Number 4, meaningful content generates action. So always remember, reflect on your why. Why are you posting like this? Or what's the purpose of this content? And defining your content pillars is crucial for your social media strategies. So for your homework, I really invite you to think of your content pillars, think of how you visually should be represented, define a tone of voice, all that workbook that I gave you, work on it and think about it in a way that will up your game for your content strategy overall. Yeah, and remember, like, it evolves, time evolves, and your brand is allowed to shift the content strategy, reflect on it every 6 months to a year, definitely, because it also depends on your audience. So it's also about experimentation in the end. But yeah, that's all from me. Any questions so far? No? No questions? Okay, wow, no questions. That's good. With that, I'd like to say thank you very much for your participation in today's session. I will be sending these slides to Rina, and she will be able to send it to you. And if you need to reach out to me, I'm dropping my email address here, so that if you guys want me to review your content pillars or just kind of check your brand voice, like whatever it is that you need, just feel free to reach out to me there. And I'm happy to kind of just give feedback. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, and yeah, all the best. Back to you, Rina.
Thank you so much, Nadzirah, for such a lovely session. So yes, this whole session is recorded, and this whole session is recorded, and I will email each and every one of you the link to the recording and also the slides for today. Now, if you like this session, this is just one of the many sessions. This is just one of the many workshops lined up for you throughout the year. And happening next week on Saturday, we have branding and copywriting for social media, and the following week is on Facebook Live workshop. So if you would like to sign up for those programs, I will share the link to the registration form in the chat box. Yes, you can sign up in the registration form. Yeah. Also, before you leave, we'd like to know how the session was for everyone. So I'm launching a poll. You will be able to see poll on the screen right now. And that's it. So thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday morning, and we hope to see you again soon. Stay safe, have a good rest, and happy weekends, everyone. Thank you. Bye.